Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Tyvis Powell, Jason Lloyd. Plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
And Travion has it now.
We're talking Buckeye football. Hey, welcome to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Thank you so much for spending time with us on this Thursday. Bull is out.
Yep.
In his spot is Mikey McNuggets. Tyvis in the hot chair in the middle once again.
It's because I'm doing it for G. Bush.
Are you doing it for G6 still?
He's back tomorrow.
He's got the throat bug going on.
Back tomorrow, so.
So is the voice better, or is it still pretty scratchy?
He wanted to work today. We said, G, we need you at full strength. We got a
Chill.
big weekend.
We need you for
We
Friday.
got a playoff game come Sunday,
So
potentially.
if this were football, he would be a healthy practice scratch.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Get better, G. We need you tomorrow. Tomorrow's
Veterans
big day.
Big day.
90-minute show here on the YouTube channel, and then 30 minutes on WKYC from 12:30 to 1. Quick reminder, if you haven't done it, hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button. If you're just finding us, you don't have to watch us 11 to 1. You can watch us whenever you want, 5 to 7, when you get off work, whenever you want. Tell your friends, all the Browns fans that you know. I continually hear from people every single week, I just found this sports show you guys are doing. We've been doing this nearly 2 years, year and a half, and there are still Browns fans that have no idea that we exist. So tell your friends that are Browns fans and share the wealth. Big show today. Aditi's here.
Yep.
We always love it when Aditi's here. She's going to bring a lot of common sense to the panel that sometimes we lack. Well, actually, often that we lack. She seems to be our voice of reason on the UCSS. Also, we're going to talk specific matchups about the Jacksonville Browns game on Sunday. And also, I think there's a lot of gamesmanship going on both sidelines. Doug Peterson is doing the same thing that Kevin Stefanski's doing. I don't blame either one of them. Why would you announce your starter when you don't have to? And you don't have to. And so right now, both teams are sort of in that limbo spot. I think an educated guess tells you who's going to start. We'll talk more about that throughout the 2 hours. But first, Anthony Cantaspelli is in the hot seat today as the producer. Do you get nerved up when you slide over to that chair? Is it different for you in any way?
No,
Old hat
honestly,
now.
when I started this, hated being on air, hated talking to the microphone,
Really?
everything. Behind the glasses helped. I'm fine. Like, we're going to have a great show today. And before we get into that show, I just want to remind everybody, as the weather gets colder, the NFL offers Stay Hot over on FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's absolutely no better time to get in on the action. This app is super easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So you guys can go visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, the official partner of the NFL.
All right, and one of our official partners here on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Do we have a winning ticket?
I do have a winning ticket today, Steve.
What do we
if
have?
you want to take tag board, it comes from Brady McBride. He put a 5-leg parlay down on the Cavaliers Magic game last night and turned $80 into $259.
Nice.
He had Benchero, 15-plus points.
That's
Mitchell,
easy.
2-plus made threes. Mitchell with 4-plus rebounds. Benchero with 6-plus rebounds. And Garland with 15-plus points.
To me,
Everything
that
hit.
seems like that's stealing.
Listen, it seems like stealing until you miss one leg by half a point. You could ask Earl.
No,
missed,
I know,
Yeah,
but
don't
those
talk to Earl
numbers in
this morning.
particular, like, those guys,
See, my problem
they
is
wake up with those numbers.
My problem is I'm one of those. I want to take $5 and make it 1,000. Like that's
So you're going too
Yeah.
many legs, too many long
no.
shots.
I'm not. No, I would never go more than 10 legs.
That's
But that's
too many.
a lot.
That's about 9 too many.
But you gotta no. It's strategic. You gotta start off with the guarantees. Like this is guaranteed to happen.
So my buddy that does that, when he does 10, he lays 10, he picks 4 locks, and then he mixes and matches the 6 that are, in his mind, the long shots on the ticket.
Yeah.
So he mixes and matches a lot to cover his to
you
cover his
know what
bet
happens
and also give you more chances.
when you do it that way. When I do it that way, what I found out
Yeah.
is the ones that I think is locks is the ones that miss
ones
the
that
long
miss,
shots.
yeah.
And then all your tickets are
that I be like,
Yeah, it is. It's really funny. And people are developing their own strategies. Some of them are better than others.
Yeah.
Some of them are a lot more risky than others, but the reward is certainly there
It is.
if you can hit on those. All right, we talked about the gamesmanship going on with the head coaches, and this is nothing new. Obviously, it's been going on in the NFL for years. DTR is in protocol, but was back at practice yesterday. He's not playing, guys.
Well,
He's not going to play.
AVP said this morning he has one more box to check. And I have no idea what that box is. There was no specifics from AVP, but said there's one more box DTR has to check before he could be cleared from protocol. So
Yes, and that's true, but that's not so he can play.
That's
This
just
is
to get out of protocol.
All of the end game here is are they going to play? It's the same thing in Jacksonville. When you look at what Doug Peterson is dealing with, have you ever had a high ankle sprain?
I have not had a high one, but I've had one that was
I had
close.
one. The doctor said you'd have been better off breaking it, and I've heard that a lot.
Yeah.
Look, can he come back and play? Yeah, it is highly unlikely, particularly in their situation. You want him healthy for the end of the season and in the
Right.
playoffs.
Yeah.
You could jeopardize all of that now. If this were a ticket on our FanDuel app, and it's a two-leg parlay, I'm going to bet the house that our starters for Sunday are Flacco and Beathard. And I can't come up with a logical reason why either team would go in the other direction. Can you guys?
I could not. For the Jacksonville, like, this game doesn't mean that much, you know. Like
It means less to them than it does to us.
Exactly. To us, we're on a 2-game losing streak. We're in the thick of things. We're like the last seed in the playoffs right now, so we're really fighting. So you got to come with a great game plan. If Jacksonville loses this game, they're still first place in the division or in their division, and they're still in the playoffs. So they got Trevor Lawrence can sit out and they'll be fine.
They have breathing room.
Yeah, they're fine.
Yeah.
For us, Joe Flacco is the one that's practicing this week. Obviously, I know DTR practice on a limited basis, but it's the timing and still getting them plays. I just don't
They're
know.
on day 2 of the game plan install, right?
Exactly. I don't understand how this guy, DTR, he's a rookie. He's already been trying to get this playbook down, and you're telling me on a short week.
So is Joe, though.
Yeah, that's true, too.
This playbook.
But Joe is a pro. Joe's been here. Joe understands. Like, Joe went through a whole game plan last week. We even heard his coach say last week how much he enjoys getting a new install and going through the week with it. So with DTR on a limited basis and Joe full participant, I think right now he's getting the timing with the guys. DTR got to come back and get that timing back. Because it's not like he was starting for
2 games.
Yeah,
That's
that's
it,
what I'm saying. He didn't start for like 6-7 games where he had the timing with everybody. He still got to redo everything again when he comes back. So until he clears it all away, I'm rolling with Joe because right now Joe is getting those reps. Joe is in those meeting rooms. Joe's getting all the information.
McNuggets?
I agree it's Joe, but can I just play devil's advocate and make
Sure.
the case for DTR just for the sake of this? Against the Rams, they had one elite pass rusher in Aaron Donald, and the rest of their defensive line was so-so at best. They had no one who had more than 3 sacks. It was pressure from one point, one guy you could really focus on, and outside of that, the guys that you thought you could win your individual one-on-ones with. Against Jacksonville, their defensive line they don't have that one guy in the same caliber of Aaron Donald, but they have the next 4 best pass rushers if you were drafting pass rushers between the Rams and the Jaguars. Josh Allen, who we'll talk about in a little bit, has more sacks this season than Myles Garrett.
Yep.
Trayvon Walker was the #1 overall pick last year. He hasn't fully figured out how to put pass rushing moves together with his physical prowess, but he's an elite physical specimen and has 6 sacks this season. Their defensive tackles have high pass rush win rates. They don't have a ton of sacks, but they're kind of forcing the quarterbacks to step out and lead into other sacks. So based on how Jacksonville's defensive line is constructed, I think that leads to DTR's mobility and escapability being a bigger factor. We saw Joe Flacco late in the 4th quarter against the Rams. When they did pin their ears back, he took a safety. He struggled 2 straight incompletions after that 3rd down.
Those were all obvious passing situations.
I gotta say, when
those are easy.
Yeah,
Those
when
are
the Rams
easy.
are able to pin their ears back and get after him, that won't be the case, I think, for 4 quarters on Sunday against Jacksonville. But I just think the way Jacksonville's able to get to the quarterback gives a little bit of a different issue and problems for whatever Stefanski wants to run offensively, because you can't just funnel your offensive line to protect one guy. We got to cut off Aaron Donald. We'll live with the rest.
Yeah.
So DTR, in that sense, may be a little bit of a better option than Flacco, but make no mistake. If I'm making the call, if I'm Kevin Stefanski, Joe Flacco's my guy, and I'm not thinking twice about it.
Well, I hear what you're saying there, but actually, outside of Josh Allen, I'm not really worried about Trayvon Walker. He's still got to figure things out, but Josh Allen is the key piece.
I think what he's saying is the line as a team
is really good.
Is better than the Rams line as a team.
I get that.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is the defensive we did a good job last week on the pass rush. I mean, it wasn't to the end of the game where Joe Flacco was really feeling any pressure.
Sure.
I thought the offensive line played decently well.
Very well.
So with that being said, coming into this game, Josh Allen is the key. Yes, they got some defensive tackles that's really good, but that plays into the strength of our offensive line.
In the middle.
Batonio, Ethan, and Wyatt Teller.
Yeah.
So I don't think that the defensive tackle wins will be that significant. But that guy right there on that screen, that's the problem. That's the guy that's got to get chipped, double teamed, and all of those.
He's going to bring it. He's their Myles Garrett. I do think that, I know you're playing devil's advocate, it's just for the conversation, but if Kevin Stefanski stands in front of the media and tries to sell that to the media, they're not going to buy it. The fans aren't going to buy it. In my view, this is, and you mentioned, it's interesting, you mentioned that this game is more important to the Browns, and I do agree with you. But consider this. If the Browns win, outside of Jacksonville winning their division, which 4 weeks ago seemed like a slam dunk, it's no longer a slam dunk.
Yeah.
If the Browns win this game, that leaves the Browns and the Jags tied for the wild card. If someone were to pass Jacksonville, also it would give the Browns a big leg up because of the head-to-head. So although it is bigger for the Browns, I think it's marginally bigger for the Browns. I mean, I still don't think it's worth rolling your starting quarterback with a high ankle sprain out there.
Right.
Let Lawrence get well. You do have the luxury of having at least a game at hand on the competition. But suddenly, if Indianapolis and Tennessee are to pick up wins this weekend and Jacksonville loses, and you look at the standings and it's a three-way tie, you've got 4 games to play. Nothing is assured for Jacksonville if that's the case, particularly because you don't know how long this is going to leave Lawrence on the sidelines. It could be 2 weeks. It could be 4 weeks. It could be 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And they may sit him 2 weeks because Jacksonville has the Browns this week, the Ravens next week, but then they end the season with Tampa Bay, Carolina, and Tennessee at home.
Yeah.
So they have three games towards the end that are
the
definitely
Carolina
winnable,
game
but-
is easy. Tampa's going to be fighting for the division lead for their division title.
It's an important game for them.
And
yeah.
Tennessee,
Always frisky.
They are. They're,
always
I
frisky.
know we looked at Houston's schedule, and they still have 2 left with the Titans. You know what Vrabel does down there. Vrabel's guys aren't going to quit.
Where is those games at? Is it home or away?
The last game against Tennessee I know is home. Jacksonville. Oh no, the final game of the season, I apologize, is in Tennessee. They are home against the Ravens and the Panthers, at Tampa Bay, at Tennessee.
Well, as we found out yesterday when we
And
had
when
the
they played-
Don reporter on from Jacksonville,
They bet on the
you
road.
can reverse
They're
their
better on the
success.
road.
Yeah.
They're far better on the road than they are at home. I can't explain
That's
it.
why I asked, because I wanted to see if they was on the road. So Tennessee, they should probably
They
win.
beat Tennessee 34-14 earlier this season.
They're
Well,
better than Tennessee, but
yeah.
you know what? You just can't do that game anymore in the NFL.
Times, I
Tough.
have a question for you. This is another reason I would go Flacco, and I want to think twice. And Jay, you talk to Betsy Kling upstairs every day. You got the weather report. It's supposed to be windy, like very
is.
windy on Sunday, between 20, 30 mile-an-hour winds. If any quarterback in the entire AFC North right now, and Joe Flacco counts for that, is accustomed to playing through weird, not great, windy conditions.
That's why he was drafted.
It's Joe. Casey Keeler said that yesterday. It's Joe Flacco, and he's played not only in Cleveland. He's phenomenal in Cleveland. We'll talk about that tomorrow in the McNuggets
10-1,
5 stats.
something like that.
9-2 in his career in Cleveland. And his
9-2.
numbers are very, very good. But a guy that has the arm strength to cut through the wind. I mean, as a defensive back, like, did that actually make it? We hear it all the time that's why the Bills drafted Josh Allen. Like, does the wind really affect passes in the extent that?
Yes, it does.
How was Beathard in the wind? You guys were together in San Francisco.
Well, the thing about Beathard is that actually this is funny. The season that Jimmy got hurt was the season that we didn't play one game in cold elements.
Wow.
It was unbelievable. It was the best season of my life because I didn't have to worry about being cold. But we actually played every game warm, so I really can't answer that question. But he went to Iowa, so
yeah, you would think he could handle the elements.
And when you talk about Joe Flacco, I think the biggest difference between Joe Flacco and DTR is Joe Flacco brings that calmness to it. It's like when you go out there with Joe, it's like everything might be going crazy, and Joe will be like, calm down, guys. This is what we're going to do. And you need that on the field because over the course of an NFL game, it goes up and down. It's really an emotional roller coaster. You need that one steady guy. That's why I think Kevin Stefanski is so good because no matter what situation is going on, he's the same. I feel that same way with Joe Flacco. I mean, his leadership on the field, the way he went in that game last week, we all watched it like, man, this offense, we've been thinking all this time we need a mobile quarterback to do all these fancy things and run this Kevin Stefanski offense. And he's not mobile at all, and everything was still boom. Passes was crisp.
They changed it
to fit
his skill set,
Exactly.
and they did a terrific job, I thought,
and
in playing to his strengths.
And I think with him, he knows how to win games. DTR is playing to kind of not lose, essentially, because, like I said, he knows he's the quarterback. He's going to be here, but he wants to get better every week.
When you say that, you mean he's more managing it, trying to, maybe we can get by with 14 points and the defense rolls aces.
I just feel like with DTR, it's like, I know.
But with Joe Flacco, you can be an aggressive.
Yeah, go ahead. Joe Flacco, because he's going to do it. Yeah. Joe's like, listen, I know I can make this pass. I'm going to let it rip.
I like what Casey Keeler, his college coach, told us yesterday on the show, is that the one thing, he kept calling him unique. And I said, what are the characteristics? And he goes, very quickly answered this. He's not afraid to fail.
Yeah.
And I think, Brett Favre always used to say, you got to have a short memory. You can't remember the pick you just threw trying to squeeze one in between an impossible window.
Yeah.
And I do think Joe Flacco, I wouldn't call him a gunslinger so much, but if you look at his career, the one thing that I think has been a common, even going back to Pittsburgh when he transferred to Delaware, is he has believed in himself in the micro, in game situations, and then in the macro. One of the biggest onion moves in the history of onion moves for players was what Joe Flacco did going into the final year of his contract in Baltimore when he had a pretty sizable offer on the table. Said, no, you know what? I'm going to play this out. I'm going to go into the last year of my contract, which is rarely done, and he bet on himself, and they won a Super Bowl, and he was the MVP.
And I think right there is why I like him a little better. The big word, confidence.
Right.
He knows he can do it because he's done it in the NFL. He's won a Super Bowl, so he knows how to do it.
Yeah.
DTR is young. He's still trying to figure out if he's confident enough to do that. He's been able to make some throws, but he hasn't had a complete game where he was just like, oh, I know I belong here.
Right.
He's still trying to figure it out.
And you talked about a gunslinger. And I'm not giving all of the McNugget stats for tomorrow away, but 18.3% of his passes against the Rams were into what PFF considered tight coverage, a tight window. There's seventh highest percentage of any quarterback.
1 out of 5.
Only one turnover-worthy throw on those attempts, which means he was trying to fit him into tight windows, and he was placing the ball extremely accurately, which leads to a lot of success. I do have one more Flacco question for you guys, though. Is there any chance we're getting a little too far ahead of ourselves on the Flacco hype based off one game?
Yes.
Especially when the fourth quarter, it was a great 3 quarters. The fourth quarter not nearly as good, and obviously there's situational reasons why. The Rams knew they had to pass more. They understood it was a one-dimensional offense at that point, but he was really good for 3 quarters. The fourth quarter not nearly as good. Maybe are we getting a little too far ahead of ourselves?
I mean,
I'm just asking.
That's just the fan in us. But I think that the reason that a lot of people are confident in him is because he was able to make those throws. It's not every pass he throws is going to be in tight windows. But if you can make those, that's confidence. It's all right, this guy looks good. The offense looks really good. Some people say it's one of the best quarterback performances we had this season.
Earl said it was the best.
Earl is crazy. I don't know.
Look,
Earl, stop doing that. Stop doing that.
Outside of Tennessee and Sean.
Okay,
but other than that, this was without any question.
One of. I think one of is
one of and the best is 2 totally different statements.
Exactly, but it's putting it in that upper echelon of quarterback performances. You asked the question, are we getting ahead of ourselves, either as a media or fan base or the coaches? I don't think we are, and I'll tell you, I almost think that the biggest detriment to this team is about to become one of our biggest advantages. Follow me. Nobody likes to change quarterbacks. It sucks.
Yes.
The rhythm is off. The timing is off. Your leader changes. It's like you're cutting the head off the beast and putting a new one on. However, while it is sucked in the moment for the Broncos, think about the quarterback questions. We've asked one almost every week.
We've had 3
this
weeks,
year.
4 weeks all season. We've gone into a
we
Friday.
Knew what was going on?
Yeah, 4.
So while that is turmoil and disruptive and very difficult to manage in the moment, the good thing about it moving forward for this football team is they're used to nothing else but change.
Yeah.
And so that's why I say what's been their detriment in this quarterback revolving door is going to be their advantage because it is week to week. I don't think anybody, fan base, media, or the coaching staff, is ready to pound their fist right now and say it's Flacco or die.
No.
No one's ready to do that. We're doing that on a week-by-week basis. So let's put Joe out there. Let's see what he looks like. If he can duplicate or even improve upon what he did last week, then it's easier for fans to start thinking, yeah, he's our guy. We've seen it twice. Let's roll with Joe.
Against a pretty good defense.
Yes, what would be a good defense? But here's the thing. If Joe turns into week 3, 2022 Joe, and he starts to precipitously decline in front of our very eyes,
Go back to DTR.
then you say, it's okay. We'll go to the bullpen again, and we'll bring DTR back. And this team, if nothing else, is used to changing on the fly.
I wonder how frustrating. Is it frustrating for, the offensive line and the receivers to have to continuously change the way? Because obviously with Joe Flacco, you block differently than DTR and Deshaun Watson. Or if I'm a receiver, I got to run my routes.
Sure.
Just a slight touch different.
It probably is frustrating, but Ty, look at this. They've had time with either of these guys now.
And
so
Walker
if they
and
do have to
Watson.
flip a switch and go back into DTR mode,
you know how to
they
do
just
it.
flip the switch and they go back into DTR mode.
Yeah, it's true.
And I think as this carousel keeps careening back and forth, Flacco's here for the ride, for better or worse. I think this probably is 1 year with Cleveland. DTR is the long-term answer at QB2.
Yes.
We'd assume. If you had gone, let's say DTR is healthy, just for the sake of this. If you had gone back to DTR, then he performs poorly, and you pull him again and put Flacco in, I don't think there's any going back to DTR for the rest of the season.
That's
But by
not
letting
for this year.
letting Flacco just kind of ride out what he did against LA and seeing how long you could sustain that level of play. I mean, you go back to last season against when he was in New York. His first 2 games were good. Games 3 and 4 went down the hill, and part of it's because the offensive line was atrocious in New York.
Sure.
But he was 37 or 38 at the time. He's older.
Yep.
There may not be as much ammunition in the right shoulder as he
so-
once had, but you got to let Flacco ride, and then if Flacco tails off,
Are you saying?
you go putting DTR back.
Are you insinuating that, what is it, 5 games left?
Yeah.
In these 5 games, does he finish all 5 games?
Not a chance.
Well, look, the odds will tell you
I think there's not a chance,
that
no.
if you're setting odds for that, be careful because the Browns haven't had the same starting quarterback for 4 straight games.
Yes, you
all
got a
year.
point there. You gotta-
And we're talking about what would be 6 straight starts for the oldest one of the bunch.
Yeah.
So,
I'd
so
be
at,
shocked.
So at some point, DTR is going to be back out there as a starter.
I'd be shocked if DTR
Odds
didn't
tell
start,
you
yeah.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I'd be shocked if
Whether
it's
it's
not
by
DTR.
injury or performance. So let's do this as we wrap up the quarterback talk. I just think that the DTR thing makes sense because of the protocol. Had he not been concussed,
Oh, he probably been out there.
I kind of think that you would have had the advantage of making that decision Monday when you install the offense. But you didn't know, and you got burned one time earlier this year when you thought it was going to be one guy and ended up being the other.
Yeah.
I think the coaching staff learned their lesson and said, look, we have to plan for Sunday with what we know on Monday.
Yeah.
And what they knew on Monday was they didn't know what DTR's availability was going to be. So I think they installed the game plan for Joe. They're going to move forward. It's going to be Joe for this week. But after this week, when DTR is healthy and the coaching staff won't be able to tell the media, well, DTR wasn't available, so this was an easy decision. Next week, there's going to be a decision to be made. Do you think that one of the other gives the Browns a better chance, all things equal, moving forward? Like, would you rather close out the Final Four with DTR or with Joe Flacco?
So what I would tell you is, from a standpoint, from strictly this standpoint only, after this season, who's still gonna be here?
It will be DTR.
So you got the problem with this season has been we haven't had a veteran backup quarterback. So take the last 4 games, for better or worse.
Well, even if it means you miss the playoffs.
for better or worse.
No, I disagree.
For better
I
or
could not
worse,
agree.
No, that's
you got to
awful.
get that
Disagree.
man
I love you,
ready.
Ty, but
You
that's
got to get him
awful.
ready.
That's
bad.
terrible logic.
What
can't
is
punt-
his record?
You can't punt on
What
the
is-
season.
I don't care about
DTR
that.
is what,
So
1
you're
and
going
2?
to sell to your fan base, we missed the playoffs, but I want to give you a silver lining, guys.
If Deshaun gets
Our
hurt
backup
next year,
quarterback is going to be ready next year.
Yeah,
This
come on,
game-
Ty. Come on, Ty.
This Sunday tells a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but Ty, you are within reach of a playoff position. You're currently sitting
Let
in a
me ask
playoff
you this.
position.
Okay, Jay.
You go for broke for that playoff
Let me ask y'all
position.
this.
You're not thinking
Wait
about
a
next
minute.
year's backup quarterback.
Wait a minute. Let's think
Jay,
about
I'm with you.
Let's think about this.
Let's do it. Let's think.
If the Browns don't make the playoffs this season,
Yes.
how many people gonna be upset?
A lot.
Everybody.
No, they're not.
Rightfully so.
No, they're not.
Yes, they will.
Because they're gonna say, "Well, the Browns overcame a lot."
No, listen.
So,
The
no,
Browns,
that doesn't
they,
matter.
they were killed
Tyvus,
with
they'll do the
injuries.
mental gymnastics to
they,
get that
they,
ball.
They went through 4 quarterbacks.
We're currently in the
and
playoffs.
they missed it by 1 game, and it's unfortunate, but we understand.
No, it's gonna suck.
That's what would happen.
It's gonna-
That's what
it
people would
will
say.
suck.
A lot of people would be like, It was a magical season.
No.
They did a lot of great things. They overcame a lot. But
You're crazy.
I know
it's just
Tyvus
too many
doesn't drink. He
injuries.
doesn't do drugs.
I'm telling you, that's what they gonna
Someone
say.
put someone in your crispy
Watch.
this morning,
If
bro.
if they don't make the playoffs, that's what everybody gonna say.
Have you
Today
seen
is
our
the
Have you
first day
seen our
that
fan
marijuana
base?
is legal in the state of Ohio.
Put it in the chat.
Did you?
Yeah, and
did
put
you
that in the
tell
chat.
it-
Will you be upset?
Poll it. If the
Ask the
Browns
fans
don't
they're
make
going to
the
be upset if we
the Browns
miss
miss
the
the
playoffs
playoffs.
this year.
poll it.
I bet you it's 80% yes, 20% no.
Poll
It's
it.
going to be 100% yes.
Because listen, it's not just the Browns.
That's unreasonable.
When have you known Browns fans to be like, that's cool, man, we're good?
But it's not just the Browns. Joe Burrow's out.
The year
Justin Herbert's been terrible this year.
Got hurt. They messed up the shoulder. You know,
Baker?
Baker? Yeah, Baker never pissed off the fan base.
No,
They never
the year
got upset at
before that,
Baker.
they were in the playoffs and they were a 4th and long
But I'm saying-
from making it to the AFC Championship game.
Everybody knew once Baker got hurt and continued to play, it was like, we ain't going to the
Yeah, and I
playoffs.
think the general mood of the fan was like one of acceptance and understanding.
I'm having Earl mark this down for like worst take of the year.
Yeah,
Yeah, put it
thank
in,
you.
Put
thank you.
it down.
Go ahead.
Listen, you
Put it
look at
down.
the rest of the AFC. Last point, real quick. But like, this is the season, and I know it sucks that the Browns have had so many injuries, but this is the season that you could have seized a stranglehold on the AFC. I mean, you look at all the injuries, not just to the Browns, who have suffered more than any other team, but Joe Burrow's out. The Chargers suck. Josh Allen hasn't been Josh Allen. The Chiefs, for the first time in the last half decade, look relatively gettable. Pittsburgh has Kenny Pickett at quarterback, and they had 11 games in
So are
Canada.
you insinuating if they go to the playoffs, they go into the Super Bowl?
No,
No.
I'm just saying this is
So
the
wait,
year
but
where
So you know what we're saying?
wait.
Here's what we're saying. There's a chance.
yeah.
Just let me in the front door of the
Yeah.
party, and then let me see what
I
kind of
see.
dance
You
partner
know
I
what?
can come up with.
I'm starting to see why the people when you was back at ESPN used to do you like they did.
Why?
That's cute. That's cute.
Listen,
Because
everybody, once they get in the playoffs, you have a chance.
That's
Yeah.
true.
I can guarantee you this.
That's true.
The winner of this year's Super Bowl is guaranteed to make the playoffs.
That's a fact.
All of the teams
Can't
that
argue
missed
that.
the playoffs.
I can't argue that at all.
promise you this. All of the teams that missed the playoffs have a 0.0 chance of winning the Super Bowl.
Well,
So what? Give me a chance.
That's math.
Ty.
Hey, hey,
You know
Earl,
what I
what
love?
does the
Here's
chat
I
say?
hear you.
Even
I
the
got
Kansas
it
City
ready
game,
here.
in 2020, when the Browns lost, that was house money. We knew we were going into the Lions' den. We knew we had no chance to win there.
but they gave you a
But
shot.
what happened?
They gave you a chance.
And you know what they did? They gave us 3.5 hours of the most exciting football of the season. They got our hearts pumping. Remember the touchdown that they took away from us before the halftime on the fumble into the end zone, and we
Higgins,
all
right?
complained
Yeah.
about what a stupid rule. Like all of those moments.
shouldn't have
That's why
reached.
we're fans. That's what we live for. Those moments. Can you
So
imagine?
you want to relive that pain? Like
No,
that?
I want another chance to get it right.
There you go.
I hear you.
And before you read
It's
the
about
results,
opportunity.
I hear you.
I'm going to make a prediction. I think this is the first time in the show's history that the chat's going to agree with Jay Crawford.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if
think
they
this
don't
is the
agree with
first
me on
time.
this, I quit. Actually, I don't.
Don't say that.
I don't
Don't
want
say
them
that.
to agree with
Change
me.
it right now.
No, I
already ended the
always
poll,
say
so they can't
really
get-
don't want them to agree with me because this is the same group that has told us that the best owner in Cleveland is Jimmy Haslam.
And what
That's
are the
a fact.
results?
I hate to break it to you, Jay, but as we wrap up this segment, yeah, they agree with you.
I mean, they have to. It's not really
would be
agreeing
What
with
was-
me.
what was
It's
the number?
disagreeing with Tyvus.
Yeah, disagreeing with Tyvus.
That's the way I'm
21%
looking
agree
at
with
this.
Tyvus.
21?
21%
So
agree
it's
with Tyvus.
80-20, just like I
Yeah.
thought. Yeah. Ty?
It's
And by the way,
it's
21%
Take the L.
that say
It's
you're
21
cool if we
people.
miss the playoffs.
There's 21 people out there that understands how this season has been, and if you don't make it, you understand why. You know why.
No,
That's
look,
called
there's always
coping.
there's always
know
that
what?
that's what I like to call the postpartum. Like, that's when you go back and you dissect the season. In 2020, it was pretty clear. Baker trying to play through the shoulder. That's where the season came unglued. If we do, when we do the autopsy on this season, if it ends without them going to the playoffs, there's going to be 15 circles on the schedule. Well, here, when Deshaun first got hurt, here when he really got out, here when they thought DTR was going to be the backup and ended up being the starter, here. So there's all these moments.
Yeah.
But here's the beauty of where we are right now. We're 12 adverse steps into this season, and when you look at the playoff picture, we're going to the playoffs.
Yeah.
I hope so.
So that's like you're running the 100, and at the 70-yard meter mark, you're in contention to make the finals.
Like I say,
Like, just keep running the race.
this
Run
Sunday,
through the tape.
this Sunday's a big game for me. It's a big game.
If they go 7-6, is that it for you? Do you think that the season?
No, because I think they can still win out their last 4. Earl will be upset because the Kool-Aid is gone. But.
Yeah, he thinks they're going to win all 5.
His hair's gone if that's the case.
Yeah,
So.
but
No, he says it's not
because I
cutting the hair.
think I still believe that their schedule is very favorable for their last few games. Outside of this, the next big game is the
Houston.
Texans.
Yeah.
So I still feel like they got
If Flacco is Joe Flacco from last year, a couple of picks, maybe a touchdown,
just
a lot of sacks, do you then say, okay, it's DTR time again, and you
Yeah.
go back to DTR?
Yes.
All right, I do too. I don't think there's really any discussion
I
about
don't
that. But
think
if he plays,
I don't think he's gonna drop
if he
off.
plays
It's his
as well
job
as
till
he
he
did
loses
last
it.
week,
Yeah.
he's got the job for another week.
His job
I
till
agree
he
with
loses
that.
it.
I agree with that.
All right, you got to read, right, Ant?
Yeah, and guys, the injuries are really piling up for the Browns, but everybody should be empowered to take care of themselves just like our Browns players and their loved ones during the unexpected. That's why Jace Medical offers the Jace Case. The Jace Case provides 5 life-saving antibiotics for emergency use and gives you a peace of mind so that you are not just hoping that you have access to medication in an emergency. Jace Medical makes sure you have the medication in hand. Jace Medical is simple. They handle everything from the online evaluation, licensed pharmacy, medical delivery, and ongoing consultation. Don't get caught unprepared. You guys can get $20 off these life-saving antibiotics today from Jace Medical by using code LOCKEDON at checkout at jacemedical.com. That is JASE medical.com.
Very good. You never know when you're going to need those life-saving antibiotics, but when you need them, they're important because they're life-saving. So
Jace
now you
Medical.
know where to go. If a situation arises, it's all about Jace Medical. All right, you touched on it earlier. This is going to be an interesting matchup, as last week was, on the defensive lines. Obviously, the Rams with an all-time great in Aaron Donald, and the Browns with a really dinged-up and highly ineffective Myles Garrett. Didn't really turn into the showdown that we thought it would be. And obviously, these guys are never on the field at the same time. But you're comparing production. You're looking at what Myles Garrett's going to do. And then you're also going to compare it to what Josh Allen is doing. Who do you guys have more confidence in being a deciding factor in this football game? Who's going to have the bigger impact?
It's. Can we start with a different question to get to this?
Sure.
I just don't know how healthy Myles is. The Myles
That's part of my answer.
I mean, that's part of everybody's
The Myles
answer.
against LA was rendered ineffective. Now, he's still at a decent PFF grade. Myles being on the field, just himself on the field, if he had 2 casts on his arm and 2 casts on his legs, he would still draw double teams on every pass rush attempt. So he has the gravitational pull that other guys don't have just by his mere presence. But I don't know if he's 50% healthy, 70% healthy, 90% or 30%.
He said afterwards it didn't bother him.
Well, it
which
didn't
surprised
look
me.
like that from watching him. I'll just say it
No,
like that because
no.
the Rams' offensive line isn't particularly great, and he put up a goose egg. And I understand stats don't tell the full story. He was getting chipped and double-teamed, and the Rams were focusing and sliding protections to his side.
And they
but,
schemed for him very, very effectively.
and kudos to Sean McVay
and
for
you're
doing
able
that.
to do that because nobody else stood up. I think you said yesterday, if you start a game and you're double-teaming somebody and
The other
he's
guys have to win.
beating you every play, you start sliding a third player over. That never happened. In fact, there were times where he wasn't double-teamed. I noticed a couple different occasions where the Rams felt like they could take him with one guy, and that nobody else on our defensive line stood up. And
No.
that I think was the difference in the football game. Stafford wasn't even dirty at the end.
And Flacco wasn't dirty till the very end. Like
Right.
the offensive line held up for 3.5 quarters. That last 7-minute stretch from the interception on, and once they knew it was a passing situation, the Rams were able to pin their ears back and get after him. But based on my inability to know how healthy Myles is, despite the fact that Jacksonville's left tackle got hurt on the same play Trevor Lawrence did.
He did.
Walker Little, who'd been playing very well this season, and he'd been in and out with Cam Robinson. They've been switching left tackles, but when he'd been playing, he'd been healthy. I'm not sure who their left tackle is. I haven't heard an update from Doug Peterson on
They
Walker
haven't
Little.
given us one yet.
Despite that, just because I don't know how healthy Myles is, if you're telling me I get L.A. Myles versus the Josh Allen we saw destroy Cincinnati's offensive line, he has 7 sacks in his last 4 games, I don't know how you go against Josh Allen. He's been one of the hottest pass rushers in football over the last month. He has more sacks than Myles on the season. These two in a head-to-head matchup, it's never, like Jay said, it's never them on the field against each other, but when you're going for these all-pro votes, there's only 4 defensive end edge rusher spots. Myles is 5th in sacks now. Josh Allen's 4th. It's not a sack number that creates it, but I just don't know how you go against Josh Allen in this sense because you have no certainty of how healthy Myles is. He said he was healthy after L.A., but you can't tell me you watched that game and saw the same level of Myles Garrett that we had seen the previous couple weeks. And I'm not one to call Myles a liar. He shouldn't lie. He shouldn't say he's banged up. Don't give anything away, but I think he's closer to 50% than 100%.
I think
give me Josh Allen over Myles
Before
Garrett.
you can answer this question, you have to sort of dive into giving an educated guess on where you think he's going to be. That's what I did when I started thinking about what he's going to be able to give the Browns Sunday. I'll let you go first. I mean, you can either talk to how healthy you think he's going to be based on where he was Sunday, or just go for it and say based on where he was in L.A. I mean, if we get L.A. Myles, no. I don't think this is even a conversation. Josh Allen is playing his best football, the best football of his career.
He is. I will say, this is what I'll say. West Coast is tricky. Just being out on the West Coast is just tricky for Cleveland. I don't know what it is.
0-9.
It's tricky for a lot of
Exactly.
teams.
They haven't won a West Coast game.
But I don't
That's
think you
what I'm
can use
saying.
that as an excuse because they were acclimated to the time zone.
I ain't worried about that. I'm just saying it's just weird.
Just playing in California.
Everybody,
is
it's
bad.
just weird out there. It's just weird when when Cleveland plays the West Coast, whether it's basketball,
they're
baseball,
not good.
whatever. It's just weird.
Okay.
However,
So you think that was
it's an anomaly.
okay? That's what I'm waiting
It's an
for.
anomaly. I ain't going against Myles. So Myles is going to be the one that's going to make the bigger impact in this game. Why do I say that? I say that because now that they're back at the Browns Stadium, where does the Browns play their best?
At home.
Exactly. So with that being said, it's going to be so much energy there even if
Where does Jacksonville play their best?
on the road, but who's missing the left tackle?
Both teams.
Technically,
Yeah,
we
I mean,
are
we
too,
both-
but you know what I mean. We ours.
No, I
the
don't.
one that we had is playing that played last week is playing this week.
Yeah, but come on.
What?
Is that who the Browns broke camp with, saying is going to be their left tackle? I didn't even know the guy's name when they broke camp.
He wasn't on the
Have
team
you
when they broke
noticed
camp.
him?
I'll give you that.
Drug Christian's played well. Now,
He even graded out well.
he graded out well. Stefanski, last week was a little
he
different.
Played well.
But the Browns have gone to a lot quicker passing concepts to get the ball out, so they don't have to rely on Jaron Christian to hold up. But he's done a really good job.
And the play
All right,
action
so-
I think neutralizes the defensive rush.
So the reason I'm going with Myles over Josh Allen is for that reason right there. I think Kevin Stefanski does a really good job with the bootlegs, with the running the ball. I think he'll be more running the ball this week. I think both teams are really trying to run the ball more. Yeah. However, Joe Flacco is the more of the vet in this situation, so he knows that pressure's coming. He knows he got a clock in his head. He knows to get rid of the ball. CJ, I told you I played with him. CJ is the guy that's going to try to make a play that with his legs if he needs to extend plays.
Is he mobile?
It's a little bit.
I think he's just mobile enough.
Yeah, he's mobile enough.
I wouldn't put him
mobile
in the
than
mobile
Flacco.
quarterback camp.
Yeah.
But
which I think is going to get him in trouble. That's what
really?
That's why I think Myles is going to end up getting a sack
Interesting.
because I think he's going to try to see something and try to extend.
He
it,
will leave the
and
pocket.
and he's going to run into a sack. That's
okay,
what
well,
I think.
that would be great.
That's a good point.
Here's my answer to it, and it's just based on the information I currently have.
Mm-hmm.
He's hurt. He can tell us he's not hurt. All he wants to tell us he's not
he's
hurt.
hurt.
We all remember the image of him from 2 weeks ago when he couldn't lift his left arm. We also remember that Mary Kay told us that he had to have assistance putting his shirt on. We've all had injuries like that. They do get better in time, typically not in 2 weeks. Now, I know he did look better in terms of the things he was able to do with his arm last Sunday, but he didn't look like Myles Garrett. And if you study the box score, he was invisible. He didn't make the trip to Los Angeles.
Yeah.
So I have to weigh that into the equation. And we're comparing him to a guy who is already an elite player, who, oh, by the way, happens to be playing at the best level of his entire career. I think Myles was, for the year, playing at his best level. But I hope I'm wrong, and I hope we see a burst from him in a play early in the game to let us at least relax in knowing that, oh, he has it in the tank this week, unlike last week. But if I have to bet money on who's going to have the bigger impact, I have to go with Allen because I just think it's the smart play right now.
If they're both healthy, right?
Then give me Myles.
It's Myles every day.
I don't even think about it.
So at what percentage of health does Myles have to be to equal? Do you think is 90% of Myles Josh Allen is 85, 80, 70?
I'll know it when I see it, and I haven't seen it yet.
Wait, let me ask you.
He's not at that level based on what I saw Sunday. I don't know if it's 77, if it's 92. I don't know. But you can look at it and say, oh, his get off is back.
I'm with you. I'm
he
just
can
asking.
swim, move. He can do all the things with that left arm that he has to do.
When he got into the accident last year, he put up some games where he had nothing.
Terrible after it.
Were they back to back?
I think there was a stretch. Now, I don't know. Maybe we have to go back and look.
So he ended up the season with 16 sacks in 16 games last year.
He came back. But
that was like
very
well.
But it took him a little bit to then get back on track. He had, I think it was 2 slow weeks where he did really nothing, then a slow for Myles week, and then he was kind of back.
That's my memory of it too.
3 to 4 weeks.
Without looking at the game-by-game box scores, I think you're onto it. He was bad immediately after the car accident. We sat here and said he probably shouldn't be playing.
Yep.
I felt after watching him last Sunday, he probably shouldn't be playing. I think he is one of the few players that openly discusses individual awards and what they mean to him. When you ask players that are in the running for the MVP, they almost never talk about it. They always deflect to team goals. Myles is different. Myles will openly embrace the idea that, oh, hell yeah, I want to be the DPOY.
I like that, by the way.
Listen, I don't hate
like
it.
Yeah,
I don't hate it. I mean, I would much rather the players talk about team goals always, every day. But I kind of like the fact that he is openly and in the public putting pressure on himself to be the best player in the league. Yeah. I think he's one of the few players that can do that. I just think it's different that he does that. So I think for him to sit out on Sunday, he probably would have looked at that and said, well, that's a check in someone else's column to winning the DPOY and not mine, that I wasn't out on the field for every game. So I'm going to be present, and I'm going to do my best in that moment, but because I think that might give me the better chance of winning the Defensive Player of the Year than if I take myself out of the mix. And honestly, I think that's the wrong call. I think you can be hurting your team in doing that. Put a player in there that's 100% healthy. You can rest and get healthy yourself and then come back in the Jacksonville game and wreak havoc. You can still win the DPOY if you do.
Yeah, I'm going to end it with this. At the conclusion of the Jacksonville game, Myles will be ahead of Josh Allen in sacks.
I would love that.
Okay, good. I hope so.
Would love that.
That would mean that you would be right in your argument, and we would be wrong. And there's nothing I would like more than to be wrong. Have him go out there and dominate the game on Sunday. All right, Anthony, what do we have?
Before we bring in here Aditi here, guys, I just want to remind everybody that we do have a Browns post-game show, so when the Jacksonville game is done, you can join McNuggets, myself, on the reaction, and then you'll have McNuggets, Earl, and G for a full analysis of the game for about an hour and a half afterwards. Right starts at the 2-minute warning. You don't want to miss it. And as Aditi gets ready here, we'll bring her in here.
All right, great. It looks like that picture was taken before G. Bush had a sore throat.
Yes.
He was smiling like a kid at the bank getting a lollipop.
I hope G. Bush comes back smiling tomorrow. What's up, Aditi?
I do too.
Hi, guys. How are you? Speaking of
Aditi.
sore throats.
Oh.
I know, it's going around, man.
That time of year.
Is it from
is.
your game on Sunday, Aditi? Because that was
Did you
that was
see
something.
that? Did you
That was
notice
something.
the monsoon that I was standing in for hours and hours? And 6 total points, guys.
The Chargers
I
covered
will
a
tell you,
5.5 point spread.
I'll tell you very honestly, I had a text exchange with member of the Steelers staff with a member of the Steelers coaching staff. The Steelers are very thin at inside linebacker. And I said, well, I just saw the Patriots, and I think you could put me at inside linebacker and be okay.
You know what, though? Never underestimate the New England Patriots because Bill Belichick is still their coach. Look at that picture of him.
Oh, gosh.
It's the greatest cover in
Yeah,
NFL history. Shout out to the Chargers.
Can you see the raindrops falling off of my hat right there?
Yes, it is actually. You were in a monsoon.
I was. And, you know, like, I loved the fact that I couldn't carry a notebook. I couldn't carry a phone. Everything was drenched. And my mic inside that Ziploc bag. Are we supposed to say, what is the, you know how, like, you're not supposed to say Kleenex, you're supposed to say tissues and not Band-Aid, you're supposed to say bandage. What is the generic word for Ziploc?
Plastic.
A zipper bag? A zippered bag?
I don't know, but
It wasn't actually a Ziploc brand.
Yeah,
You know what I'm talking
you dominate your space when your competitor also has to use your name to explain what your product is. Band-Aid is another one. I mean, it's
Whatever
like
that was. So the mic was inside the bag, and it didn't work. Eventually, there was so much rain that I was dumping the bag, even though I had kept it all zipped
well,
up.
you were a pro's pro as always. Aditi, we've been talking about the quarterbacks and the gamesmanship that's sort of going on between the two head coaches and not being specific with what we think we know they're going to do. I mean, that's commonplace. If you don't have to give it away, why would you? It's, you know, you're at a competitive disadvantage if you announce that on Monday. Keep the teams guessing. It's standard fare, right?
Oh, totally. I mean, it's what we had last week with Bill Belichick, and it's
Right.
what Bill Belichick is doing again. And you saw all signs last week pointed to Bailey Zappi starting for the Patriots, but Belichick wouldn't say it. The players wouldn't say it. We as broadcasters knew, but we're still not allowed to say that we'd met with Bailey Zappi. And the same thing is happening this week. Bailey Zappi handled the press conference that the starting quarterback generally handles, but Belichick still won't officially name him the starter. Now, as for Flacco and DTR, I think you do. There is a little bit more gamesmanship or a little bit more competition to that because you are preparing a little differently. Those two quarterbacks are different enough that your preparation, while the offense doesn't change, and there are certain things that you always have to be prepared for, the run game is the run game is the run game, it might affect your rush lanes a little bit or how you go about doing things. So why not? Why not? Why not put a little more onus on the opposing defense?
Sure, make
to
them
have
guess.
to just
Hell,
prepare for something extra.
I mean,
yeah.
Peterson's making us guess too. So, I mean,
Sure.
you know.
Although I think
Rob
he
Buffer.
really truly is just hopeful. I don't think that he actually knows if Trevor is going to be ready to go. I think that he's got a little more hope on his hands in terms of whether Trevor Lawrence will be able to go.
Maybe, but that high ankle sprain, it's, you know, we
I
saw
mean,
it.
it's unlikely.
Yeah,
Yes, of course.
we saw it
of
with
course.
Mahomes, but it was a playoff game. And considering
Correct.
that they've got a game in hand on the Colts in the division and the Texans, they do have a little bit of wiggle room and buffer space there that they have the luxury, if they need it, to not start their quarterback. But let me ask you this, Aditi. In a vacuum, let's say DTR was not concussed, and this was a real decision for the coaching staff. Did Joe Flacco do enough on Sunday to definitively say, even though DTR is the long-term QB2 option, that for now, Joe Flacco gives this team the better chance and it's his job?
What did you guys say? You guys all
we
answered
said
this,
yes.
right? How'd you vote?
we said
All
Flacco.
three of you said yes.
We did.
For this week.
We did.
For this week right now.
Yeah, we think
Flacco,
it's
yeah.
week to week.
Yeah.
Because when you're 38, aren't we all day to day, week to week? So, I mean, I think you got to,
I literally just ran regular 4 miles, and I'm telling you guys, my heart is like, I'm walking up and down saying, am I too old to run? Is that what's going on here? I'm all in on Flacco. You guys
Good.
know this. You know that
Yep.
I mean, I feel like I came into the league with Flacco. I've grown up with Flacco. I'm such a fan of his. And I just think that in this situation, his headiness, his experience, his cool, how collected he is in any one moment. You know, emotions don't get to him at this point. I just think that he is the right answer right now. I would like to see him continue to play. And yes, I do think that he did enough out in LA. I mean, I was sitting in the Boston airport. I don't know if I'm supposed to admit this, but I was cheering very loudly for Joe Flacco and was quite disappointed with how things went. So, yeah, I do think that that's the right answer. And I think, the fact that Kevin Stefanski moved on from PJ Walker because he wasn't sleeping over the turnovers just tells you where Kevin Stefanski's mind is a little bit too, and I think that having that savvy Super Bowl MVP veteran in there just gives you a level of comfort. The guy's not going to have a brain fart. He may not make the perfect throw at one moment. He may not move the same way, but he's not going to do something stupid.
I agree with that, actually.
He did do something stupid.
He did do one thing.
You're surprised you're agreeing with me? Is that what the actual...
No,
Well, I disagree with both you guys because he made 44 decisions and 43 of them were great. But other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, did you enjoy the play at the Ford Theater?
Aditi, Myles going out there, he has the shoulder injury. And now that he doesn't look like quite himself, do you think he's hurting the team?
No. I don't think, first of all, I think Myles is smart enough and savvy enough not to go out there if he thinks he's hurting his team. It's what we've heard Deshaun Watson say over and over, that you play through as much pain as you really can. I also think you guys were talking about this before I came on, that Myles has no problem throwing it out there, that he has these lofty individual goals too, not ones that will come at the expense of the team, but he wants to be playing at a level that garners a certain amount of acknowledgement or recognition. He's not going to do something that hampers that. And look, at the end of the day, Myles Garrett, who's only half of Myles Garrett, is still better than how many players out there? I mean, I'd take Myles Garrett on one good shoulder over, I don't know, all but maybe 3 pass rushers in the league.
Yeah. Didi, Amari Cooper is still going through concussion protocol, recovering from the rib injury. He did not practice yesterday. We'll find out his status later today. But if he can't go against the Jaguars, is this the Elijah Moore 100-yard performance you and Tyvis have been calling for since preseason week 1?
I'm so sad about this Elijah Moore thing, okay? And I had to talk to my producer, my game producer earlier, and I was the one that was so bullish in the preseason. I was like, you draft Elijah Moore. You draft him. He's going to have a monster fantasy season. And let me tell you, I hear about it every single week. So why get off the train now? Sure, this is the week, right, Tyvis?
I
This
agree.
is the week, whether Amari's healthy or not. This is the week.
Take the joke out, but I mean, it is a massive loss if Amari can't go. He has more catches, yards. No, I think it's yards and touchdowns than every other receiver, not tight end, but every other receiver the Browns currently have on the roster. He's been their only reliable outside threat, really. So if he can't go, whether it's Flacco or DTR, they're going to have to make up some ground. And Moore, Tillman, Marquise Goodwin, hopefully he's back. Like those guys have to step up in a big way.
Yes, but you know what else? It's an opportunity for someone else to step up. It's funny. I'll go back to my game last week. So it was the Chargers at the Patriots, and Keenan Allen, 11 years in, is just having this monster year, and his numbers are out of control. He's as consistent and dependable as can be. And so we were sort of asking Keenan, what's the magic here? And his response was, I don't even think he meant it to be funny, but he was like, well, there's just not really anybody else to throw the ball to. The truth of the matter is that the Chargers have, they've suffered 2 major injuries, Williams and Josh Palmer, right, at wide receiver. And their first-round wide receiver, Quentin Johnston, hasn't been able to secure the ball with any sort of consistency. And so I'm not saying that Marquise and Elijah and all these guys haven't stepped up, but in some way, Amari has been so money, why not throw to Amari? Amari beats a double team. He tells you, you beat the help guy, I'll beat my guy, and he's fine. Amari makes the contested catches, the combat catches. Amari runs it. Like, if he's money, why not go to him? So I don't think that this is a situation of Elijah Moore and Marquise Goodwin and David Bell and all these other receivers not being able to step up. It's just, when you've got such a reliable, dependable, wonderful guy to go to, why not go to him?
Yeah,
and like so this would be a great opportunity, right, for these other guys to show, hey, we can do it too.
Someone's got to do it. And you're right.
Right.
He's the proven commodity, and the quarterback clearly has a comfort level throwing it in his direction.
Right.
Now, it doesn't mean that in his absence, someone isn't going to become the Amari Cooper on that day. And on the positive side, for you and for Tyvis, if we can throw that graphic up, that Elijah Moore graphic, one more time, you call for that 100-yard game. Should he put together 5 straight 100-yard performances, this graphic proves to us that he would be a 1,000-yard receiver because he currently sits at 501 for the first 12 games. So I'm saying there's a chance.
Well, Elijah and Joe Flacco seem to have some connection.
They do.
And they have rapport, and they played together a year ago. And so why not? I'm not giving up. Tyvis, you're not giving up either, right?
I got to ride it out, Aditi.
Listen,
I'm on record. I can ride this thing out.
He was targeted 12 times, Aditi. On his 4 catches each time, Tyvis would send the group chat an 8-ball emoji.
That's true. That is true.
I did do that.
I'm like,
That is
simmer
true.
down. He's thrown to him 12 times. He's got 4 catches.
I didn't see all
That is
of the
true.
game. We're all 12 on target. We're all 12 catchable.
He had 1 drop.
He had
Doesn't have
at
a
least
drop.
1 drop. Did he have 2?
He's
think
getting
it
this.
was.
He's getting the separation, and I think that was the thing with him all year. I thought he was getting separation, but for some odd reason, like when PJ Walker was in there, he skipped the ball to him a couple of times. Like I just think he got it. And then when Deshaun's in there, his number 1 guy is Amari, so he's not really, you know what I'm saying. So he just kind of got missed. You got a guy out there with Joe Flacco who's familiar with him. He has some of his best games with Joe Flacco, so.
So if Amari can't go,
Yeah,
guys
but you
are
know
out
what?
of excuses.
How about this one? When Elijah Moore was dissatisfied, unhappy, perhaps not feeling good about the way he was used last year, we heard about it. And even though Elijah's production isn't quite what he wants it to be, we haven't heard any of that this year. So
If
I
nothing
think
else,
that's a
that means
statement
he's
on
maturing.
him.
Yeah.
Yes, I think that's part A, but I also think part B is that he recognizes all those other things. He's controlling what he can control.
Aditi is the most underrated Browns offensive weapon, Harrison Bryant.
I mean, in a lot of ways, yeah, right?
Thank you.
Doesn't he make the
Because
catches when you
he has
need him
more
to make the
touchdowns.
catches?
That's what I'm saying. He got all the TDs.
Yeah, he's a former offensive lineman. I love the way that he goes after it. My screen has frozen, so I have no idea if I'm on camera right now.
You are.
But
Yeah, you are.
Okay, well, I'm just ducking down to replug in my computer because apparently it's about to go out, and I didn't realize that.
You
So
do that.
please talk.
You can keep talking. We can hear you.
But just in case you were wondering, yes, why am I ducking?
Yeah, no, that's
I'm
okay.
ducking. Here I am. I'm
Very
frozen.
good.
I'm frozen on Joe Flacco's face.
No, you
Joe
are
Flacco.
on our screen, Aditi. Don't worry. Hey, Denzel Ward comes back this week, or at least he's practicing and is on
Thank
track
goodness.
Yes.
to come back. I'll hand up my bad. I underestimated his importance to the overall play of this defense.
Really?
Well,
Really, Mikey?
I knew it was really good. I didn't think the drop-off from Ward to no Ward with still Emerson and Newsome would be as bad as it was the last 2 weeks.
In fairness to Mikey,
Well-
his only experience was last season when Ward did not have a Ward-like season.
I mean, I knew Denzel. I'm not saying I didn't think Denzel was good. I just didn't think the drop-off of the overall defensive
gonna be
performance
dramatic.
would
You
be
know
that
what?
dramatic
He's a
without him.
Buckeye.
Because you're looking at Newsome and saying this is a good player, but Newsome is a great player where he plays, not necessarily out of position. You know, I'm great at what I do. I would not be great if I were on Dancing with the Stars. So there you go. We're not knocking Newsome as a human. We're just saying that his strength is not necessarily playing outside. And certainly once you go from Ward, one of the best guys outside, to someone who's playing out of position outside, that's where you kind of are.
And when you have an offensive mind like the Rams do in McVay, and
Last week with Peyton in Denver, too.
that's exactly right, Sean Payton.
You know how to
saying,
pick at that.
Find
Right.
number 0, and that's where you're going. And they did it, and they exposed him. And you're right, Aditi, he is very good at what they ask him to do. When he's in the slot, I feel like he's matching up against guys he can handle, and he does that very well. But it's like asking the 4th pitcher in your rotation to suddenly become the ace when he's matching up against the other team's ace. And now he's over his skis. And it's not a knock on Newsome. He does what he does very well, but he is not that guy. He's not Denzel Ward, and we've seen that the last couple of weeks.
Well, and he's built differently, and his assets, his traits, the way he uses his body, it's just different. It's different. So Yes, I'm glad, Mikey, that you have a chance to appreciate Denzel Ward, and I hope the next time you see him, you'll tell him that.
I guess real quick, and my actual question on Ward, not just getting him back, was last 2 weeks, the Browns have played way more zone coverage than they had man coverage. And obviously that makes sense because you don't have your best man cover guy in Denzel. And the Rams and the Broncos both took advantage of that. Getting Ward back, and you know Jim Schwartz better than I do, he stopped blitzing and he's playing more zone. Do you expect him to get back to the more aggressive front and aggressive scheme that we saw earlier in the season, or do you think they'll end up kind of being a little more passive, knowing C.J. Beathard, who's at quarterback, most likely?
I think that they're going to do what they do well. And I think, Jim Schwartz has very famously said that his defense isn't a democracy. It's not like they do what the players want to do, but he's going to do what the players do really well and what they rise up to. And I think that having one of your key cogs back in what you've been doing really well will make a difference for sure. So, and who cares who's on the other side? The Browns want to play the way the Browns want to play.
Aditi, the last couple of weeks, first of all, what do you think of Kevin Stefanski's play call in the last couple of weeks? Just out of curiosity.
Oh, God. I'm not, you know what, I'm not close enough to sit here and say that, but I will throw this out there, Tyvis. We don't always know what the actual call was. Right? Like, we can guess what the call is, but we don't truly know if the quarterback made a check that he shouldn't have made. And we talked about this a few weeks ago, Jay. You and I talked about this when we were discussing Jason Kelsey telling Jalen Hurts to change his check and go back to what the original play call was. We don't always know what's actually called. We don't know what the quarterback is reading or seeing, what the quarterback is changing something to, whether the quarterback is going away from something. I mean, I remember a few years ago covering a team where after the game, the offensive coordinator was completely ripped for not running the ball enough. And I was privy to seeing the play script and the plan going in that we want this many runs within the first half and we want this. And that is not what happened in the game. And it's not because the offensive coordinator was not calling those runs in. It was that the quarterback kept changing the runs to passes.
Well, at some point you can stop that.
Going to sit out there. Yeah, but no coach is going to get up there and be like, well, that's not the game I called.
No, I don't mean that. No, I don't mean he's never going to roll on his quarterback. He better not.
Run it.
But also, you can make adjustments. At halftime, if you're way over your run total or way over your pass total, you can have that conversation with your quarterback and say, look, you're checking out far too much. You can do that at any point during the game. I think what Ty is alluding to is the last two games, I'm going to be off a digit or two here, but the run-pass ratio was almost 2-1.
Yes.
It's about 66% for the two games combined. That's not what this team is. That's not how this team is built, and that certainly is not how this team has had success. And I'm wondering if we're going to see a dramatic shift the other way now because it's been so obvious the last 2 weeks, 2 losses in what were close and winnable games in the fourth quarter, but got out of hand late. There was no reason to be to be passing the first 3 quarters. It was a 1-point and a 1-score game. So what do you think of that mix, 44-23, 43-22, whatever it was the last 2 games? It was almost identical.
I mean, I don't like it because, again, this should be a run-first team. This should be a team whose passing game is built or comes off of the run game. I think you're asking a valid question. Should there be some sort of an overcorrection, knowing or having the history of the last 2 weeks kind of hovering over you? I think probably yes, there should be. And the Browns know that this is their strength. They know that this is how they're built. And there's a sense of pride that even when Nick Chubb, arguably their best player on offense, went down, they still were able to run the ball and run the ball well. So you'd like to think so, for sure. But again, I hate to sort of cast stones and say that's all a Kevin problem or that's all a quarterback problem or that's all a this, that, or the other. I don't know enough to tell you whose feet that lays at. But if you're asking me, should there be a greater, stronger commitment to running the ball? Yes, there should be.
Yeah, I think we couldn't ask you that for a lot of reasons, but one of them is we don't know, and we've been around this team for years, what role does Paul DePodesta play in the micro game planning from California all week as the chief strategy officer? I can only tell you, in talking to people that have been with this organization in the past, that his voice and influence is incredibly strong. And I hope one day we actually find out, and it's rare that we do, but I hope we find out one day that the head coach does not have nearly the input that maybe he should and that we think he does. I just think that's my personal opinion on the situation. I know you're not at liberty to talk about that, but it's the great mystery of this organization. What the hell does he do, and who's driving this bus?
Yeah, Jay, you say that, and I feel as if we could have a very similar conversation about maybe half the clubs in the National Football League.
You're right.
You know,
I
know that people have been talking about what David Tepper wanted to see out of the Carolina Panthers offense. And that's why Frank Reich couldn't finish the end of the season. I know that here in Pittsburgh, there was a lot of conversation about how much of the offense was Ben Roethlisberger and how much was the then offensive coordinator, Randy Fichtner. This is, you know, who really truly has autonomy. I don't know. That might be a much smaller group than the ones that have maybe too many cooks in the kitchen.
No, it is. I just bring it up because in the other scenarios that you bring up, the players that have a voice in that system, in one case you mentioned the owner. Personally, my opinion from covering the league for 30 years and just experience, that doesn't end well. It just doesn't. So, but aside from that, when it's someone who came from outside the sport and his history was in another sport, and he may have the single loudest voice in this organization, an organization that is under the microscope as much as any for its lack of success, it just is a bit troubling to me that that person may not even be in the building every day. In fact, isn't even in the state every day. It's hard for me to get my mind around. That's all.
Again, I'm just going to sort of stay away from that because,
and I don't blame you.
Again, it feels like it's conjecture until I know for
sure. You're right. And in fact, it's conjecture on my part, with the exception of talking to a few people that have been with this organization recently and know the makeup of it, and they don't necessarily think that it's one that can win when it's done the way it's done. Hopefully more on that comes out, and we actually, as fans and media, learn a little bit more about that process, because they're not very transparent on what he does and what his input is. But I know this, he's been a part of several different regimes, general managers and coaches, and the success just hasn't been there. And I don't know at what point you keep going in that avenue if it's just not working. And I know that's another rabbit hole, and I don't want to bring you into that because you don't belong in that discussion. I like you too much.
Thank you.
Thank you
for saving me.
What's your game this weekend?
I have the Bucks at the Falcons, so I will see your old friend Baker Mayfield.
Give him our best. You know, give him send.
He's about to have a baby. Do you have advice
I know.
for him?
So on behalf of all of us, congratulations to he and his lovely wife, and also tell him that Bull is still as big a fan as ever. That's not a lie.
He is a fan. He watches all the time.
Good luck to he and the Buccaneers as a win puts them in control of the NFC South.
I know, crazy.
Absolutely.
Bye.
I didn't intend to go there and on the DePodesta point, but you've been with different organizations, and now obviously in one of them, in Seattle, Pete Carroll is an established guy with cachet, and he likely has the loudest voice in the entire organization, as Bill does in New England and as other guys do in their places. But you were here a minute.
Split.
Yeah, a minute. Did you get a sense of the hierarchy or no?
Well,
players are immune to that.
No, I mean, the only thing that I noticed, I noticed that out of all the places I've been, this was the Browns. Seeing Jimmy and D was was the most I've seen owners at their thing. So they are around it much more. I actually had a conversation with them. I went to charity event, golfing charity event, even though I don't golf. But apparently,
that.
yeah, they stop
Soccer.
it. Stop it. But I
tried it once.
Yeah, I had a conversation with him, but this was Hugh Jackson at the time, and Sashi was the GM. Sashi was a cool dude too.
I always liked
Yeah,
Sashi.
he texted me. It was like, anytime you want, I'm from Shaker. You want to tell him come over to the crib.
That's
Hey,
awesome.
Cool dude, man. I was
great.
shocked to see him go. But to me, I always thought it felt like the owners had the power in Cleveland. To me, in my personal opinion, I was like, Jimmy and D makes all the calls around here.
What was it like in Seattle? Did you ever see the owners? Did you?
I did see the owner. He would drive. He would drive in on
Paul Allen?
Yeah, he drive in on his boat. Rest in peace to Paul Allen.
Yeah.
He drive in on his boat, right?
That's the life.
Yeah,
That's the life right there.
because
boss move.
Seattle practices on the water.
On the water.
So he drives in, parks the boat, get off, walks upstairs where we eat lunch at, and sit at the table and sit there and talk to you.
That's a pretty boss
Yeah,
move.
I was sitting there like, man, my wife got like a $2,000 ran up in Nordstrom credit. You want to try to clear that for me?
If you would have asked him, he probably would have said,
He probably would have, though.
He was that kind of guy. I don't know. I've talked to a lot of players about this, and there's mixed reviews because a lot of the players I talked to about it were with the Patriots during their run. And they all say the same thing. First of all, it's always Mr. Kraft. And not because they think that that's what he wants to be called. All of them that I've talked to about it say, well, no, he deserves that. But I worked with them for a minute the year they lost to the Eagles in the Super Bowl. They did a playoff network that I was hosting for them. And I got to meet Mr. Kraft.
Yeah.
I got to spend time with the organization. And I saw firsthand, okay, I want that owner to be around. A, he knows what he's doing, and he knows what he doesn't know.
Yeah.
What I loved about him was he had ideas and opinions, but he never mandated his idea or opinion to become policy.
Right.
And obviously you wouldn't with Bill Belichick there, but I don't think that was his way anyhow. This was his question every day. What do we need today to be successful that we don't currently have? Doesn't everybody want a boss like that?
Yeah.
He was one of the first to make sure that the team flew in complete luxury. He bought a 747 jetliner. He doesn't, fly charter. He has a Patriots plane, and it's equipped to carry a football team.
Must be nice.
And, look,
We
they
need
all
that
have
from
the money to
UCSS.
do that if they wanted to. But the Patriot way, so I learned in my first week, the lawyer that I negotiated my contract with, when she was kind of taking me through the building and giving me all the introductions, she kept saying, Patriot way, Patriot way. This is the Patriot way. And what I realized was the Patriot way is the best way, the right way. You know how, you've been with different organizations that have different levels of, accoutrements.
The Cowboys flew us to Hawaii 747.
Yeah. Now, see, they're an organization
So they're like,
that
yeah, Jerry.
Well, no, listen, they do it very similarly, but Jerry lets his opinion and idea become policy at very high levels within the organization. That's why they haven't been successful. And I know he had success early on, but it was with the parts were already there.
Yeah.
And he fired the people that were most responsible for that success, and he hasn't sniffed it since.
Well, they look good this year. But this is a Cleveland Browns show.
Yeah,
so
enough
let's,
of that.
Let's talk about the offense.
I'll wrap it up by saying
Actually-
this. In my experience, and I'll ask you if you echo this, a less involved owner increases the chances of a team being successful, right or wrong.
I think you're right, actually. It's sad that I think that you might be right.
I don't know from personal experience, and just the guys that I've talked to have always said they don't want to see their owner in the locker room after the game. Did that drive you nuts? Because I had players flat tell me the owner and his family do not belong in the. Now they have the right to be there. They own the team, but the players never like to see them there.
When you say in the locker room,
Yeah.
okay,
In the locker room.
So after the game, like with the 49ers, I'd see them. I'd see them in the
Really?
locker room.
Win or loss?
Win or loss, they be there because they give you
Interesting.
they shake your hand and you walk in.
Interesting.
Okay, but like Kyle will say his speech and then that's it. Like I don't see him after that.
Okay.
So they only in there for like a split second.
Yeah. Okay. Everybody has a different management style, but I enjoy talking to players about what they saw, what they appreciated, and what they feel was the best style.
Yeah.
Because everybody has a different style. All right, we want to do a read first before we switch to Cavs or no?
Yeah, I got one more FanDuel read for you guys today because I just want to remind everybody that as the weather gets colder, the NFL offers stay hot on FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is super easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and a lot more. You guys can go visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, the official partner of the NFL. So we had a G-Push special here for today, and that Mike came up with last night, and unfortunately G can't make it. But if you guys haven't noticed, Amani Bates is lighting up the G League.
Yes.
We knew that was going to happen. We knew that was going to happen.
He's putting in work.
It is the developmental league.
It's the Gatorade League now.
Listen, what's the question?
Still a developmental league.
Wait, state the question.
The question was, and G. Bush let us know at 10 this morning he wasn't coming in. So this was the G. Bush Cookie Special, but you're not getting a ton of production from Dean Wade. You're not getting a ton of production from Isaac Okoro. Strus playing well. Levert's playing well, and the Yangs getting better, but his numbers aren't there. You look at what Amani Bates is doing in the G League, and if you don't know,
tell us.
I'll give you the numbers. He's averaging 27.4 points per game. That is number one in the entire G League, 27.4. He's shooting 45% from the floor, 45% from three in 6 games this season. 6 games. He's 29 of 65 from three. He's averaging 11 three-point attempts per game.
What is that, Mikey? That's over 40%.
45%. It's phenomenal. On 11 attempts per game. He's averaging 4.7 rebounds, 1.8 steals, 1.7 blocks. Don't ask me about the assists because I ain't going to tell you because it sucks. But I ain't going to tell
0
you.
point something.
Wait a minute.
I played the fifth. You're not wrong, but I played the fifth.
Listen, I'm going to be G. Bush. If G. Bush was here, he would say this. He said he would have been up here, man. I don't know what JB got going over there. D. Wade, get him out of there. We don't need to see him in the lineup no more. Don't even know why he's still here. Max Strus, you playing with fire right now because we got this young boy that's about to come up here. Listen, man, they need a spark on this team, man. Amani Bates can come in there every night. Think about this. You need shooting. When y'all do y'all best is when y'all shooting. You got a guy that shoots that with no hesitation. Now, he done got better. He done had a couple of minutes in some games this season. He had a couple of decent games. But if he lighting up the G League right now and we ain't getting nothing else from the bench, why not give my young boy the shot? What else we got to lose?
So we all do our G. Bush
That's
impersonation?
my G. Bush right there. That's exactly what G was saying. That's what G was saying.
G. Bush is
I don't need to see Dean Wade another minute. Isaac Okoro, get him out of here. He was a wasted pick.
He's a jag.
Yeah, Niang.
He's just a guy.
Niang is just a guy that's out there just getting a couple of buckets. We got a guy that can get you 15 at least.
I've got a question for
off the bench.
Yes.
Because he follows this way more closely than either of us. Because he has friends, I think, that probably have jobs in the G League, I'm guessing.
I do. A couple GMs.
So here's what I want to know from you. Because I don't know. I have a guess. How often is G League production transferable to the NBA?
That's a great question.
So,
and examples.
There's no defense in the G League.
Which is why he's shooting
0
45%.
people play defense.
Right.
The average score in a G League game is like 130 to 130.
It looks like all-star game scores.
Yeah, and I was looking at this morning. I think there's 17 guys averaging 23 or more points in the G League this year.
Yeah.
Like
defense is optional.
It's defense optional. I think it's why they changed it from the D League to the G League because
you can't
defense is frankly just optional.
Right.
What does translate though is shooting.
Well,
it's the same
no,
three-point
I don't
line.
think it does because I think if you've got hands in your face.
Okay, but here's the difference, and this is a compliment and the downside of Amani Bates. It's not like they're running plays for Amani Bates. It is Amani Bates going one-on-one. And
what is the offense? Do they even run an offense?
They call
okay,
it, but
yes and no.
I've watched a little bit of it, not this year, but I've watched a little bit of it in the past, and I'm like, man, this looks like my pickup games.
Yeah, so it's a lot of up and down, which is why the scores are high. Like,
yeah.
Once again, defense optional.
But doesn't it to you seem all freelance?
A lot of it's freelance, but I think when you're going, like, let's say me and Tyler's playing one-on-one, and Amani Bates is very good in these one-on-one situations. That's what he was good at coming out of college. That's what we knew he was good at. It's not like a dude's just letting him shoot over him. When it's one-on-one, you're getting ISO'd out. There's a little bit of pride on the line there, too.
I agree.
And the fact that Amani is shooting 45% from three on almost exclusively, I think I was doing the math this morning, it was like 73% are off the dribble threes. So that's him going. It's not
So
like
he's
he's coming
creating
off,
that shot,
He's
not
creating
catch and shoot.
Exactly. Very little catch and shoot threes for him.
So how much of that is transferable to the NBA? Like, if he were to take the same number of threes in the NBA, what are his numbers this year in the
not
NBA?
good. Don't ask.
No, I asked because
I don't
it's
off the top of
relevant.
my head. Earl, we look up what's Amani's NBA stats this year. He's only gotten a couple games.
No, I know, and I know it's a small sample size, but I asked because I do think it's relevant. Because
Yeah.
look,
the
I
difference is-
expect him to dominate the
So-
G League. I really do.
So
We
you ask,
all
is it
do.
transferable? The answer right now is no, because Amani Bates is a one-on-one player. If you watch any Cavs games, what's the last thing they need more of?
They do not need another ISO baller.
So stylistically, it is not transferable.
No.
Is the shot making transferable?
Yeah, that's-
yes.
it
is the
is.
ability to create a shot transferable? Yes. Is he's hustling on defense. You don't just walk into 2 blocks and 2 steals per game. I'm
Right.
telling you that. Is the effort transferable? Yes.
And 5 rebounds, too.
Five-
a game.
Stylistically, though, I don't think how Amani is succeeding in the G League fits with how the Cavs are currently playing.
see,
That's my issue.
Yeah, okay.
I don't
and
And that's
like
why I
it.
asked that question.
Well, I don't like that though, because that's an indictment on the coach there. Because if you got a bunch of players right now that's playing ISO ball, then that means that's what you coaching in
So
your
you send him
organization.
down there specifically to play so we can fit into an offense.
Right. And
But
it's-
I'll tell him. I'll say this. I don't know who the G League coach is for the Cavs.
I'm not sure
I
either.
don't know who it is. But I'll say this because I do follow baseball very closely, and I even pay attention to minor league baseball, and I spent a little bit of time in the minor leagues, and this is probably the same thing that's going on in the G League. It's each man for himself.
Yeah.
Like I've seen teams 5 games to go, they need 2 wins to clinch a playoff spot, and they're like, we don't care.
It's
Like
it's every man for
playoffs
himself,
in minor league baseball, it's a point of pride, and there are some players that care. But for the most part, it's every man fighting for whatever crumb he can find, and it's
Yeah.
hard to get a team to buy into a team concept because
Well-
at that level, it's 25 different individuals that have the same goal: get to the bigs.
But my thing is, right now, when you look at the Cavs, you hate the way that offensively they're structured because it's a lot of one-on-one.
I understand
a lot
your
of high
point.
pick and rolls. So how is this kid supposed to make it to the roster?
Mikey,
if
can you
y'all,
answer that?
If y'all saying
Yeah,
that
because
that's the
I
one
do,
thing
I
y'all
think it's a fair
trying to
question,
change.
but
It
I
is.
just don't think it's set up that way.
So before, and what are his NBA numbers? Just out of curiosity.
He's only played 7.4 minutes according to ESPN. He's
Oh.
averaging like 1.7 points. So
Yeah.
not
and Bernie's
nothing.
in the house flexing on Anthony.
Bernie's flexing behind you.
But wait,
Bernie,
wait.
I have that same shirt, and oddly enough, I was going to wear it today, and I didn't. It's a great shirt. I have the same one, and I have it in brown too.
But
So let me ask you:
to
how
answer
many
your
threes
question.
has he taken in those 7 minutes?
I'd have to look that up. He's got 0.4 out of 1.7 threes, 25% three-point percentage according to his regular season averages.
so that's 7.4 minutes per game he's played, not 7 minutes in total.
He's
Yeah.
averaged 7.4 minutes. Oh, in the games that
in the
he's
games
played.
he's
Yeah,
played.
he's played in
yeah.
7 games.
So,
Sorry,
so
the
here's the
averages.
thing. So the big picture question is, how does Amani Bates fit in?
Right.
The reality is, and if G. Bush was here, G. Bush is kind of onto something here. Right now, you're getting nothing from Dean Wade. Zero, zilch, nada.
I just
There is-
told you where.
That's what I'm saying. I'm agreeing with
Oh,
you and G.
oh,
Bush.
oh,
yeah,
okay.
you're getting
I
nothing.
was
As you channeled your
literally
inner G.
telling you
Bush.
if G. Bush was here, what he would say.
Yeah.
So when I say I'm agreeing with you and G. Bush, just because I'm looking at you doesn't mean I'm trying to argue. I'm telling you, you're right. Like Dean Wade's you're getting nothing from Dean Wade. So
Yeah.
those minutes are
They're wasted.
they're wasted.
Yeah. You
Niang-
can use those for development and developing
Niang's-
your first-round pick.
Niang's playing better. And he does have a crucial role in what he does, Amani Bates can't do. They
Yeah.
are very different players. They're both shooters, but Niang is a really good help defender. His rebound numbers aren't there, but his box out rate's phenomenal. And he's a glue guy. You ask anyone on the team, and I was talking to some of the Cavs coaches this past week, he gave a speech after practice in Golden State that they think could be like the kind of the spark to this team. And Chris Fedor
The
wrote about it, too.
galvanizing moment of the season?
Early on, but it's been him. It's not Donovan Mitchell. It's not Darius. George
Wow,
Niang's
that's,
kind of
I
been
got
the
to tell
guy.
you, that's a tad disappointing to me.
Th-
That it's not Donovan
George
Mitchell.
Niang, George
I
Niang
don't
has
know
more
why.
playoff
It's not
experience.
to me.
I understand why it's not,
Yeah,
but
it's
it's
not to me.
disappointing to me that a guy who's been with the team for 10 minutes is stepping up and giving a rally speech after a practice in a particularly bad game.
Yeah.
That needs to come from, if not Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland. He's been here
It's-
longer.
It's Niang. Niang is
Wow,
kind of
that's-
I
the
feel like
unspoken leader here.
one of them, and George Niang feels like, I can see myself being here long term. One of them's like,
One of them's wearing a Mets hat.
Yeah.
how many
Well,
more games we got left?
But the back to the Amani Bates part. You have minutes in Dean Wade that you're getting nothing from. You have a couple other guys, and we've seen Craig Porter. They've tried to get him in.
Yeah.
Amani Bates is on a two-way contract. So
Right.
he has NBA games where he's going to play. There are going to be situations where Amani Bates is asked upon to play a bigger role for the Cavs. And maybe it's on a road trip. It'll come and go. He can only play so many games in the NBA, so he can't come up too early in case he flourishes.
What is that number? Do you know?
It's 50.
Oh,
He's only
really?
playing 50. So it is a good chunk of the
Are
season.
they getting the games out of the way now so that he can be a factor at the end when it counts?
The G League season's shorter, so they could be trying to save games.
Right.
But how Amani Bates does fit in is on the second unit when either Darius or Mitchell is out, and especially if LeVert's hurt, and LeVert has been in and out of the lineup. When LeVert's on the court with either Garland or Mitchell, there's just not a lot of ball handling duties to go around elsewhere.
Right.
That's why Craig Porter's been such a good fit, because he actually doesn't need the ball to be a successful option.
Right.
On defense, he does other things. If LeVert's out, that second unit minutes alongside a Garland or a Mitchell is where I think Amani Bates can fit in, because you need someone else who can create some offense. Strus isn't a creator by himself. Niang's not a creator by himself.
No.
Don't get me started on Mobley and Allen. You can't play
They should be,
offense.
though.
But they're not.
But they're not.
And you can't
Consistently.
sustain those minutes on the bench without your superstar if you have one creator. It's too easy to funnel, even in the regular season, 5 guys towards one smaller guard.
And Mikey, I think
that's
that's
where
when
Bates
this
fits
team
in.
looks most lost.
Yeah.
In the example that you just gave, and those voids sometimes seem like the stretches are going on for far too long, and you're watching and you're saying, this in no way, shape, or form can win playoff series. It just can't.
I agree.
I don't care what the individual talents are.
Yeah.
You know, in basketball and in every sport that's a team sport, it's the sum of the parts. And these parts right now don't click. They don't match. And I don't know. And I do think you're onto something. I think that's it. Because as I'm watching the games, I'm noticing the same thing. And I'm saying, okay, who's it going to come from?
Yeah.
Who is that guy, if not your main starters? And that's in the playoff games when those rotations shrink and your matchups become so much more important, you can't lose them. And against the Knicks, they didn't have a. I mean, I can't think of outside of maybe the starting rotation for a minute where they had an advantage once you got into the game and rotations
They got
were underway.
destroyed by the Knicks bench in the playoffs.
It was
Destroyed by the Knicks
embarrassing.
bench. And that's why they came in and they got Niang, who's a massive upgrade on the bench.
Right.
But once again, the guys they brought in to help the bench, to help solidify that unit, they're not necessarily creators. And that's a tough thing to find. It's not like they're just these bench guys who are shot creators just fall off trees.
But they did things that the Cavs needed.
They did, yeah. And that's where the draft pick of Amani Bates was so smart. A, the talent was there, but B, theoretically speaking, he fills the need. Now, he still has to learn how to play within the team concept. Like I said, 27.4 points per game. He's taken 11 threes. He has 5 assists in 6 games. So, that part of it still has to come together. But what he does, what we saw coming out of college, what we all loved about Amani Bates, he's doing in the G League now.
Yeah.
So it's transferable from college to the professional level.
But the big question
Now,
is it transferable
the next step,
to the NBA?
And I don't think that's the question. It's can it fit within the system? Because he can't play like he's doing with the Charge with the Cavs.
No.
That doesn't mix together. But can he find a way to fit in? Is the talent there that translates? Yes. It's can he figure out, hey, I got to find a way to get my shots up when I don't have the ball, and I have to find a way to be a contributor on defense, help defense, rebounding because he's 6'9". He's doing actually 5 rebounds a game. It's pretty damn good for him. That's over what I would expect. But the talent's there with Amani Bates. The talent is there. Now the Cavs got to figure out a way to incorporate him into their offensive scheme and system to get the most out of him.
And to harness it. And you're right. He's just got to be more of a team player.
That boy don't touch the weights, boy. That makes me
No,
mad.
he's big. And I hope that's
He
another
touches
thing that we
the
see from
weights.
him year to year. I hope that physically there's some change to his body. Jared Allen there's been a little bit of physical change. I still want more. But with him, he looks like Mr. Salty on the pretzel box, man. He is thin.
Well, I know we got Bernie coming in. Last thing on Amani Bates.
Am I wrong?
No, he is.
But-
I just seen him dribble the ball. I'm like, man, his arm looked like me in high school.
Last thing with Bates, though, we drafted him on potential. The Cavs drafted him on potential. He is flashing all the signs of this dude has crazy talent and things you can't teach.
Good.
Which is
That's-
what you pray and hope you get in a second-round pick.
Because you can't coach that.
Exactly. And his stock is going up. He's
I
shown
like to hear that.
He's shown
you were,
nothing.
You were
Have you been to
sell
the
on him
I went
early.
to one of the Charge games. Yeah.
And you were not. You didn't love the pick, and you said guys that
you
you,
didn't
had
love
talked to
that
from
pick?
other
No.
organizations that had scouted him.
Yeah.
Your quote. Can I say what you said?
Yeah.
Like he said, he's got no transferable NBA skills.
No.
That's what you told me.
No. His scoring and shooting was transferable. I had NBA coaches from other teams say they did not have him on the draft board because they were not confident he'd ever be able to play within the team concept of basketball.
Okay, that's what you told me.
Yeah.
He wasn't even on our boards.
His stock right now
I mean,
is up,
that's
though. His
not-
stock
that-
right now is up.
All right, good. All right, let's get Bernie in here, but before we do that, we need to read, right?
Yeah, before we get Bernie in here, Earl's going to get him out, but I just want to remind everybody should be empowered to take care of themselves and their loved ones during the unexpected. That's why Jace Medical offers the Jace Case. The Jace Case provides 5 life-saving antibiotics for emergency use. It gives you a peace of mind so that you are not just hoping that you have access to the medication in an emergency. Jace Medical makes sure you have the medication in hand. Jace Medical is simple. They handle everything from the online evaluation to licensed pharmacy medication, every delivery, ongoing consultation, and care. Don't get caught unprepared. You guys can get $20 off on these life-saving antibiotics from Jace Medical by using the code LOCKEDON at checkout on jacemedical.com. That is JASmedical.com.
JASE Medical. Just making sure we get it right.
JASE.
But Ed, you killed it. You crushed it. Good job.
Look who's here.
It's tough to
Can't read with the headphones on.
Show the fans the shirt because I've got the same shirt. I love it. It's the old retro Tecmo Bowl with Bernie and the arms in the air.
That's awesome.
First of all, the graphics on the old Tecmo Bowl are just
Elite.
completely great.
Yeah, I gotta say, repping today the old school day from the
great.
the dog pound days. Yes.
Oh, the good old days.
Hey, when they came out in the arcades in like '87, '88, and then we all tried to pretend we didn't have anxiety before games and stuff, and then the kind of handheld Game Boys came out, which
Sure.
today we're going to really show our age, but back in the early 90s having those.
That's how you would handle your stress before the games, right?
You'd
Play a
see
little-
games playing, yes.
Yeah, pretty
Playing.
cool.
That's actually
Got to start with Joe Flacco. Grade him on last week, and regardless of the DTR protocol, should he be the starter for at least this game?
Well, I got to tell you, this guy sitting right here on my left, I'm
Yeah.
just landing from a red eye right now, and talking of the Tecmo Bowl and see my old school picture here. This is not a shameless plug, because the only thing that got me more excited this week was seeing your texts in the download of talking about Joe Flacco and some of the plays.
You're
that
pumped about it.
Oh my God!
It's going to be on the UCSS WKYC show tomorrow.
How
We got
he-
Coach Bernie in the house.
How he played in the game, and I like DTR, so let's not even get to that second part of your question. How Joe Flacco played in the game.
You're excited about this,
Oh my
Burns.
God!
He is. Look at it.
I
He
love
is.
it. No, listen.
I'm genuinely excited to throw that skinny post that you called up that we're going to be talking about, to have been sitting on your couch 2 weeks ago, to be able to hit a skinny post and make that read like he did, and to hit Coop at 18 to 20 yards. Like, there's guys that play their whole career that will practice all off-season, training camp, through the season. They couldn't throw that if their life
Why is it so
depended-
tough?
He let it rip early with perfect velocity.
Even before he was out of his break.
Wait,
That's the beauty. You young quarterbacks out there, this is going to be like a master's program. We're going to talk about what he did out there was master's coaching real stuff. I mean, you go your whole life. There's guys that haven't made that throw and that read.
Is it
on
because
that
they
time.
don't have the timing yet with the receiver? It was stunning to me that he made that throw,
Yeah.
and they probably ran it a couple dozen times in all of their practice sessions combined. That's something that takes years of the same quarterback and wide receiver to
Hey,
develop.
we talked about, it wasn't a shameless plug, that Joe Flacco and Dan Marino are 2 of the 3 quarterbacks to be in the playoffs their first 5 years in the NFL.
Yeah.
He's 18 years in the league. He's all the games he's won. He has a macro feel and sense for it. This is genius level timing on top of arm talent. That that throw was, and I'm going to show my age here, but this is Troy Aikman, Picasso-like skinny post throwing, Dan Marino throwing timing, and here you are at 38 years old, ripping it out there on perfect on the skinny post to Coop in that first quarter. Forget the perfect spiral. The sense of timing to where you say on the board, we'll draw it up later with 18 to 22 yards. even the good players get that typically at 21 to 24 yards, 25, where you start bringing in duress for the receiver and interceptions. I mean, for him to pull that off, the Harrison Bryant throw in that tight window like that, manipulating the Mike backer to move him just a shade.
With his eyes, right?
With his eyes, just a shade like that, and then to have the confidence to rip it in there. Yeah, for young QBs, that's easier said than done, but that's just showing a massive presence of experience, yeah, but still.
Does it open up the playbook to things that the others weren't maybe able to pull off?
Well, it opens up the field for sure. When you're able to spread that field into that intermediate zone where you're duressed at that 18 to 22 yards, where the Mike backer, the slot defender, the safety has to know that I am going to complete that ball there. And that ball could get in there from me to you, bro, is wide open. And he's hitting balls that aren't even close to that open. And we'll do it up on when we draw it up. The young receivers, this is classic how to run routes. There's a lot of beautiful rules in there that are followed through. And for him to let that skinny post go when the DB, that was man technique, hard inside technique. Yeah, Coop still crosses his face, and Joe Flacco knows he's going to cross his face and lets it rip way before Coop crosses the DB's face.
He was still, I don't even think he started his break yet when he let the ball go.
Right, no. He did not. And it was the most gorgeous thing you could see, and why I'm so loving it. So I absolutely say that to where
I love his enthusiasm. I love it. Because I got to tell you, I haven't seen you this excited about a Browns quarterback in a very long time.
I haven't been. And I want to temper it with, it's supposed to be 20-mile-an-hour winds on Sunday.
That's exactly what I was going to ask.
Okay, it's going to be horrible weather. Yeah. We were in gorgeous L.A. I was sporting all the trying to be casual, looking good stuff. I was gorgeous. Let's throw in Picasso-like weather, okay? We're not going to get...
But, we had his college coach on yesterday, and he said the reason he did so well in the draft, they made him throw outside, and he was throwing in high wind conditions. He grew up in it, and he dominated it, and the Ravens said, this is perfect for games in Pittsburgh and Cleveland. We're taking this guy because he can cut the wind.
Yeah.
Now, I know he's 38, not 22 now.
Right, and again, it's to have that sense of timing and that sense of belief, okay, when there's massively windy conditions. That's harder to do. But actually where I was kind of going with that is tempering for the people that want to crucify him. That inside technique, skinny post that he threw like a Hall of Fame quarterback, okay? You can't throw it any better. Amari Cooper, you young receivers, you can't run that route any more gorgeous, okay? But and how they develop that sense of trust, and he lets it go, and it looks like that gorgeous play that I'm raving about. The same almost concept happens on that deep post later in the game. We're down 8 points. People are like,
the interception?
Yeah, how do you make that throw? How does that happen? Okay, you're having a sense of timing. You're trying to kind of guess. You're down 8. So many young quarterbacks who aren't winners, so many guys would take the check down. Hey, okay, I'm not going to take it. Look, we were about lost at that point in the game. We were down 8. With halfway through the fourth quarter, we needed to make a play. You want that play back, okay? But that's a guy trying to win, and that's that same kind of presence and experience. And he's really guesstimating with his experience, that sense of timing.
That's where he's going to be.
And that's where he's going to expect him to be. But he got off a little bit with a guy in his face.
Sure.
Okay. It didn't
have duress.
Yeah. And again, we had gorgeous protection again on that skinny post. I mean, Coach Callahan and our guys up front again to handle Aaron Donald and to, again, throw the skinny post to Coop, to throw the Harrison Bryant one that we're going to talk about. And again, 1 or 2 plays were off. That interception play was. But that comes with trying to be great like that and trying to win the game as opposed to just, he could have taken a check down there.
Sure.
One of the things you just mentioned, Bernie, is the chemistry between Flacco and the receivers. And he'd only been in the building for 2 weeks. To me, it's unfathomable they could have that chemistry already that quickly. But, you change teams, you had new receivers come in. How quickly can you actually develop that quarterback-receiver chemistry? Or is 2 weeks plenty of time and I'm just an idiot? Which I probably am an idiot anyway. But
not the latter. 2 weeks is not plenty of time. But, maybe part of it, too, is, and I'm not trying to just pull this out of my backside, okay? But part of it, too, is you get a little stale from all the work the guys do, from OTAs, the off-season, summer camp, mini camps, training camp, the beginning of the season. Sometimes you start hitting a lull. And when you bring in a new breath of fresh energy, an experience, a guy with that type of arm talent, it really kind of reinvigorates you and people. And I actually see, just like I'm reinvigorated. Man, I red-eyed it in here. I mean, today, I usually, sometimes you go through the motions on stuff like this.
You feel like you're ready to play.
Fired up. And I mean, I think you see, I'm not sure about ready to play, but I'm absolutely ready to talk about it. And I'm genuinely excited about
I
doing
haven't
it.
seen you like this in a long time.
And I could see this almost as reinvigorated of the cues in the receiver room. I mean, heck, if I'm a receiver, and I know I could catch the skinny post. And here's the beautiful thing off of this with wind. When you know the skinny post with a DB who got inside technique, because I lust for fades and takeoffs, okay?
Yeah, you loved them.
Okay, so if that
you would have killed Tyvus. You would have torched Tyvus.
Oh, my God.
No, he wouldn't, because he would have said something to me, and I would have said something back.
Yeah, we'd be talking, But now you think about it. You got on film, a guy's going to rip a skinny post when you know I got inside technique, and that guy was a full yard inside, knowing that, oh, my God, tighten stance. I'm in a yard inside. I'm probably going to be set up for an out route, a bow out and stuff. Yep. Now they got the stones to cross my face and let it rip a skinny post. Boy, I'm running over top of you, too.
It gets in the head of the defensive back.
God, yeah.
Got you in circles.
No, he wouldn't.
Let me ask you this, Bert.
But you made that mistake one time.
Yeah. But you know the game we be playing, though, right?
Oh, yeah, I do.
For Jacksonville this week, I mean, look at Browning just threw up 34 points on these guys. The backup Q, the Jacksonville D's, that's in their head. They can't be thinking how sweet they are now. Trevor Lawrence is out.
Sure.
So, you could really play the mental game with the Jacksonville DBs because they got to look at this on film.
I know you said that Flacco took a shot, and he's got the onions to do it. His college coach told us yesterday, he kept referring to him as unique, unique, unique. I said, why? And he quickly answered, he's not afraid to fail. Yeah, he's not afraid to fail. But I'm going to be devil's advocate, and I know that he had a shot, he took a shot. It was an 8-point game. However, what I was looking for in that moment was you need a long, sustained drive. There's 6 minutes to go. At that point, it wasn't 8 points, was it? At the time of the interception,
I think it was a 1 point game.
It was a 1 point game. The next drive, it was 8 points. On that drive, there was 6.5 minutes on the clock. The Browns' previous drive was a 75-minute sustained drive, 75-yard, 7-minute sustained drive that went for a touchdown. When we came up with the 3 and out, I said, okay, this is playing out perfectly for the Browns. What they need now is a time-consuming field drive that doesn't even end in a touchdown. They just get in field goal range, kill the 6 minutes, kick the field goal, go home with the win. And so I was disappointed that that's where he decided to take the shot. I just thought slow and easy wins the race. Get down there, get in the position, and kick the field goal. But they were in a pass-first mode all day. I think what was the distribution, 44-23?
Yeah, I think.
Pass to run. I don't know how this team can win that way, 44-23.
So I don't disagree with you on those points. And again, we want to play back. So as a quarterback apologist, and I am on Joe Flacco's bandwagon. I love it. I'm not even his marketing guy. Okay,
you should be.
But you want it back. Yeah. Okay. And I could actually, I get how those happen. And he says, you don't play all these years and go to all the playoffs with not being your own worst enemy. So he's absolutely running through that analogy himself. He's running through the distribution and breakdown of plays himself. He also now has time to talk to Coach Stefanski and Coach Van Pelt and Coach O'Shea to kind of implement it for this week in the Jacksonville game. It was gorgeous out there. The weather was so ripe for throwing. Aaron Donald, and that was decently unhandled during the game and that. So we talked about this in the Denver game with DTR. We wanted probably more running plays in that game. Okay, I love Coach Stefanski and that. It was gorgeous weather, but we could have probably wanted more running plays.
Do you think they run it more moving forward? Because it's 2-1 pass to run the last 2 weeks.
So I'm looking as the positive guy right here. We set on film 2 games where we're throwing 60 to 65% of the time. So our breakdowns for the data analytics that the Jacksonville Jaguars are doing on us is a pass-centric team. So we'll have those analytics. Hopefully they're going to play pass coverage against us. So help me God, we already talked about the wind, the weather, and the possible rain on Sunday. Please, Lord, let's run the ball more, Joe. I love your arm. Let's strategically rip them fades, skinny posts, and let's come to the game running, because Jacksonville now, with Trevor Lawrence out there, they're going to be trying to manipulate and game manage the game. Let's not give them a shot, and let's take it to them.
Now, when they showed Jacksonville's defensive ranks, they ranked 30th in pass and I think 6th in rush defense. Now, what I know about Kevin Stefanski is he likes to pass to open up the run. He did the same thing in Denver. Denver was the worst rush team, but yet he still threw the ball. Do you think that still carries on this game, or you still think they should just continue to run the ball, then pass, or you think they should play the pass and then open up the run?
So I like to go against what I've been doing on film. So my last 2 games, whether we all agreed with us throwing the ball a lot, okay, but in the Denver game and in the Rams game, we threw the ball excessively a lot. So on film, Jacksonville sees excessively a lot. So I really want to run the ball early. Okay, I want to run the ball early.
Is it one of those things where you don't care what the defense does? Like
right now,
I go, the
first 15.
What you do is run.
This is about us. It's December now. November is positioning month. Okay, December, it's winning month. It's about us. I could win. Okay, you're the top 5, top 10. You're the 6th. Okay, good for you. We're going to find out. Okay, we're going to find out early Sunday. They're going to see passing on our stats. They're not going to really be sure. We don't overly talk about what we're going to do. But with that, I would really take it to him more in the running game.
Bernie, you were in L.A. for the Rams game, and I know SoFi is a beautiful stadium, but you were posting pictures on your Twitter hanging out with all the coolest kids in L.A. There was one, you were with MGK, you were with all the former Browns. Who was the coolest person you got a chance to chat with?
Well, I wish the game would have went a little better, but the Browns fans, the Southern California Browns backers, God, you guys matter. You're awesome, everything you did out there for us.
What was the crowd, Browns to Rams? Was it predominantly Browns?
It was more Browns fans and stuff. I kind of love how us sports guys kind of like these being musicians, and kind of the musicians kind of like wanting to be the sports guys. So to be with Colson, MGK, and Flavor Flav, and
you met Flavor Flav?
Flavor Flav.
I didn't see that picture.
He was pretty cool.
Did he have the clock on?
He had the clock. I'll tell you what.
I know, but like to see it in real life, like that's
the clock. And 2, man, I was honored. Okay, I was honored and humbled. And I ain't just saying it to look good on TV. And with me and Eric Metcalf, man, he was so respectful. He was like, man, I'm with Legend. He was.
You're his era.
That's awesome.
He was calling us. I'm like, no, we're honored to be with you and stuff. And
That's great.
And then the next day to have, I've spent a lot of years with the great Darius Rucker from Hootie and the Blowfish. So he got his Hollywood Walk of Fame on Monday. Cool. So I was honored to be at the ceremony on Hollywood Boulevard. being part of that series.
That's awesome.
How can I hang with you for? Like,
Birdie's the coolest guy.
I need to hang out
Birdie's
with
got the
Birdie for
hookup.
just a
He's got the
week.
contacts.
Yeah.
All right, when you look at Jacksonville, obviously the quarterback game is going on with both head coaches. It's unlikely that you're going to play 6 days later on a high ankle sprain, and it's also unlikely that DTR is going to fly out of protocol with a cape and start. It's conventional wisdom tells us that it's going to be Beathard against Flacco. What's the biggest concern that you have from this Jacksonville team, knowing that it's likely not going to be Trevor Lawrence, and also Kirk is out for the season, so they're also down their top wide receiver? How does that look to you?
So I love Doug Peterson, was my teammate, roommate, one of my brothers at the Miami Dolphins in the mid-'90s. Dougie Fresh, I love you. You're an amazing, awesome coach.
5 minutes, Dougie Fresh, you're on.
And he is an awesome man and human, on and off the field and stuff. I take zero, and it's awesome. We're talking about some of the cool people I hung out with. Some of the coolest things I did last week, it was the spiritual healing and retreat that I'm doing. So now is you're trying to get healing and have that kind of mode with that. I don't take any consolation in Trevor Lawrence or Kirk being out.
No.
But this is just about football, and we're talking about just what do I think about the W or the L on Sunday. And again, I don't want to go from this solemn seriousness, but I will go almost to my happiness that Joe Flacco played, because that's damn well happy, and it really helps out for us right now.
Sure.
So, one of the concerning things that I took out of the Rams thing that we all probably should have knew, but our defense so awesome, at home, first in the league, but we were 30th on the road, and it kind of showed up. Unfortunately, those last 2 weeks in Denver and in LA. But heck, that's the past. It's now about the present. We're at home. Now Beathard here. It's not Lawrence. Now crowd noise is an issue.
And Ward should be back.
So having Denzel back, having the home crowd, our defense is the #1 rated defense at home. With a backup Q, let's take it to him early. And that's also why I really want to run the ball early. Taking no chances at making a mistake, because I don't really see how Jacksonville, without Kirk and without Trevor Lawrence, comes in here. And does anybody think they're going to score 20 points unless we give it to them? So let's not give it to them. Let's take it to them early, and let's physically start dominating, because they will wear down. Coach Callahan has wore down everybody's D-line.
Yeah. He's done a marvelous job this year. He really has. You want to do the Super Chats now?
Yeah, we can get them out of the way right now.
Okay.
And every time we do Super Chats, it's brought to you by PCC. Are you guys looking for a job with career advancement and great benefits? PCC Airfoils is a leading manufacturer in Northeast Ohio. All locations of PCC Airfoils in Eastlake, Menor, Wickliffe, and Minerva are hiring for all positions, starting at $18 and up. Plus, you can get a full benefit package, paid time off, and a signing bonus. You can apply online at precast.com/careers to learn more. So, guys, we got about 5 Super Chats today. The first one might be my favorite, Brett Watson. Tyvus is trolling. The Browns better make the playoffs.
Yeah. We'll ask
Tell
Bernie
Bernie
after
what he
the
said.
Let's get through the Super Chats, then we'll ask Bernie at the end, because then we're going to get to Ray.
Yeah, I'll run through these pretty quick, because there's an interesting question at the end.
It's a nominee for worst take of the year.
Yes.
I made sure we marked it down.
That's sad.
JD, King of the Smoke Ring, having a good day here on the 7th. The LA game didn't look frantic like the other games. Was pretty happy about that. Brian Rizzo, Tyvus, Hugh is QB1 next year for OSU. Is it somebody from the roster or a transfer portal?
Didn't they ask me that yesterday?
Yeah.
That was
I
on
think
Ask the
so.
Show.
Yep.
That was overtime. You got to answer the real people, the daily viewers.
I think it's at this very current moment. From what I know, I think it's somebody that's on the roster.
I disagree. It's going to be Cam Ward.
We'll see.
Tyvus, it's Cam Ward.
We'll see.
It depends on how much money the collective can raise to pay these players
Stay tuned.
to get them here to Columbus.
Stay tuned.
Cam Ward would look
How's the
great in
collective
scarlet
doing?
and red, man. Would look great.
Tyvus, whatever you say, I'll believe.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
I'm
That's
just
all
getting
saying.
back in town, man. What's up on this QB situation? I'm in the NIL world right now with
They
them.
lost a backup running back yesterday.
Trust me,
Another
I know. I'm doing University of Miami.
Are you
work.
involved in their collective?
Hey, NIL, with young kids out there and QBs and receivers in particular, understanding where's the right places and what's the right systems. And just actually right now talking to some people online about what we're talking about, how to throw the skinny post, how to throw the middle read, how to make sure it's done 18 to 22 yards. So many people don't know where to go, and kids could get lost in the wrong system. So, yeah, there's a whole money component to it, but it also kind of helps kids find the right system.
Get with the right coach.
Yeah, because, I mean,
That's the big part.
Yeah.
Ultimately, they're going to help get you to that next level. That NIL money won't.
I will tell you that they do have Cam Ward projected to go to OSU.
I saw that.
Would you, yes or no answer, would you believe said projection? Like, is it a credible projection?
I plead the fifth. Next question.
Okay, next one, Ant.
Yeah.
All right, so the last two here both come from Armac Dog. He said Cavs invested too much into Mitchell. They should not have given Darius a max deal, and they should have re-signed Sexton and kept Marketing. And then he asked, do you guys think the Browns and the Cavs both overreach for Mitchell and Watson?
No, you get a chance to get a superstar, you go get a superstar.
I'm about to say that's a little.
It's hindsight now.
Yeah.
When you get a
I
chance
don't
to
think
get,
it's hindsight.
Uh,
I don't.
You wouldn't have did neither one.
I said at the time, I didn't think either
Yeah,
one
Jay-
were going to lead to championships.
Jay didn't like either. He's been consistent with that.
Yeah. And look, I hope to God they prove me wrong. I hope to God there's 3 years left for Watson and 2 years left for Mitchell.
If,
Who you got more faith
if Cleveland's
in?
lucky.
Well, just give me the more years. Watson's got 3 years to get it done. So
How many Mitchell got?
I like that. I think 2.
Well, he is this year, then he's a team option. But
Yeah.
I would. I'll just next.
Yeah, I just
Yeah,
don't think
yeah,
either one of them
yeah.
will
We'll go next.
end with a
We'll go
championship.
next.
And I know what you're saying. If you have a chance to get a superstar, you do it.
Shut up, Ty. You wouldn't even say yes or no to a credible projection.
You don't
I haven't
leverage
said
the farm.
anything.
You don't overpay to get
Yeah.
said superstar. Unless said superstar is LeBron James and he's 26.
In my youth, I agree with all you guys. As I get my age, I'm just so happy that we're playoff relevant. Okay.
Yeah, then you're going to love what Tyvus
Yeah.
has taken earlier. Finish the last 2 super
I think that was
Those
a
were the
super
last
chat.
two.
All right, so Bernie, here's the question. This came up earlier. Tyvus said if the Browns don't make the playoffs this year, he thinks fans will be okay.
We've been conditioned, okay? I want to be humorous. I want to answer the question, but I want to be spiritually fine because I don't want to be fired for being inappropriate jokes and stuff. There was no holidays back when we played.
Yeah.
It was. We used to say the joke. We'll be home for Christmas. The Bing Crosby song. You don't want to be like. It was like the 11th commandment. You'd rather. God, I don't want to even say this in the holiday season. You'd rather be dead than not in the playoffs and stuff. And that was the mindset of the players in the locker room, the fans. We live and died with this.
I agree, Bernie.
But
I
since
agree.
the team
Worst
came,
take of the year.
But since team came back in '99, the holidays have been apathetic to the teams. And because we haven't been playoff relevant. And Art Modell, people used to say, I'm going to show my age. He goes, I don't care if people love me or they hate me. Don't become apathetic to me.
Yes.
And I believe maybe not today, December 7th. God bless
Pearl Harbor
and our Americans and everything that's happened and stuff. But a lot of people, football isn't as important as it was back then, and they are apathetic to that and of other things because, like, my kids think I'm an idiot.
No.
Okay, for doing this Brown stuff. They've never seen us win. They're 32 years old, my daughter yesterday.
So they're basically like, give it up already. It's never going to happen.
Oh, and even the ramifications of look at what you did my whole youth of going to looking these guys throw their helmet off and lose a game, and you don't spend Sunday with me. I mean,
Oh, there are major sacrifices for the players.
Yeah, but I mean,
Bernie, I think he was even talking about the fans.
He was saying the fans.
He was
the
like,
fans.
we'll be okay if we don't make the playoffs. And I'm like, bro, did you just fall out of a spaceship
Tell him, Bernie.
into
There are
Cleveland? When are
some.
Cleveland
Bernie,
fans okay with not making the
Tell
playoffs?
them that with what's going on this season with injuries.
I don't care about that. We're in a playoff spot
if they
right now.
just so happen to
They were
miss
7-3,
you'll be like,
Titus.
I can understand.
there's going to be a percentage like that become
20%.
apathetic.
20. With 1 on 5.
We did the
We
poll.
did the poll.
Yeah.
Worst take of the year. Here's my thing, Bernie, and I think you're right. I think it probably is more important to the older crowd because I'm 58 and my mantra, the last one that they won was in 1964 the year before I was born. So it hasn't happened in my lifetime. I just want one. I want to see
You're
one.
wrong. It's not 20. It's 21%. Thank you very much.
Well, if we kept it up there a little
I know
longer.
we want to see one, and I know we're wrapping up against it, but like, as much I've spent like 2.5 decades now, like at Christmas and New Year's Day, like where our games, not only are they not even relevant, they're not even watchable.
No, they're not.
And at least to get to that stage, because again, I'm human nature too. As quickly as you get to that stage, you'll be wanting the championship. But man, we can't even get to that stage yet.
No, I know. It's got to be in steps. Tyvis, you can be cool if they make the playoffs. I'm going to be pissed.
See y'all in overtime.
Bernie, thanks. Always great.